that person exists, but I don't necessarily want to be that person.
Correct, exactly. I would like her to work for me.
I'm glad that
Absolutely.
autistic
She would
people
get,
exist, especially as a
yeah.
libertarian,
I
because
mean,
they're primarily my audience.
that's good to know, baby, and I'm really happy for you. You know, for some reason, 45% of my audience, according to Twitch, is from the UK. I don't know how that happened, and they're like none of them, like only like 10% are Modi people. So I don't know how I somehow got on UK's favorite conservative streamer list, but I'm here for it, UK people. Let's make Texas UK or UK Texas. That's what
Well,
we want.
well, you do go pretty hard on immigration. You know what I mean? Like that might be a factor. You bring it up a lot. You go
Yeah,
hard on it. And
yeah,
like, UK conservatives right now can't really say much about immigration policy. Or they might get a knock on the door. But that doesn't mean they can't consume content about it.
you don't want the knocks
Maybe
on the
that's what
door.
it is.
Yeah, the no knocks on the door.
Also, like I kind of feel like you're like like you see those memes and it's like, be the American that the Japanese think you are. And then
Yeah,
it's like, some like manga or something of like a cowboy over the top
yeah.
crazy American.
We
Like
got the
you're
guns.
kind of that in real life.
I can
And
see
so
that.
like I wonder if like you're the American UK people think we are, and like there's a certain entertainment value to like the Euro that's just like fuck it up, bomb 'em. And then they're just like, based American, like as a form of entertainment because you
Yeah,
like meet the stereotype.
that's funny. That's a good point. On that, that might even add to that because the next thing is I have like 7% from like the Netherlands, and apparently they have an expression which is I'm not even gonna try to
I
pronounce it
don't
because I
even
don't
know if
speak
I
it.
have my other one. Hold on.
Where they say like something Von Texas, and that means like that's so crazy, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like that's I probably don't help that stereotype. But Skyana, you ready? I think that is a no. Baby steps. There we go. All right, everybody ready
Who
here?
names themselves 404? Like it's like a
Yeah, I
PTSD
laugh.
triggering
I
thing. When
I
your
laugh.
What do you
camera's loading, I'm
mean?
like, oh, well, because it's like because I've been conditioned to believe that is an error, and then I see like the loading screen, I'm like, oh fuck. And I'm
It
like, wait a
is.
minute,
That's
that's
why I
not what
named
that
it
error
myself.
means.
Yeah,
I know.
there's levels. There's
Obviously.
levels, you know. All right. Well, on that note, let's get started here since everybody's on time.
Oh, let me turn
Scott,
off my
did you hear
mic.
the judging stuff earlier?
I did not.
No, I
Sorry.
didn't.
I'll go
Oh,
through the judges stuff either. Judges, y'all decide based off how y'all want. You two boys already know the format. I'm going to give y'all like 15 or 20 minutes sometime in that range. I'll stop and have the judges ask questions. We'll do it again in like another 15, 20, and then we'll have the ending. All right, y'all know the thing. We're going to do 7-minute openings or whatever, and then we'll just go from there and go back and forth. Let's see. Let's do a coin flip. Who wants to go? Does either one of y'all want to go first? All right, we're both
um,
deferring.
hey, I
So
don't care.
that's fine. Let's do the flip a coin. Who wants heads or tails? Someone pick one.
I'll take heads.
All right,
take
flip
tails.
the coin. It is
Well,
tails.
duh.
So Lactoid, you're up first. All right, and
Well, hold on. I get a pick now, right? Because I
oh
won
yeah,
the
you
coin
get,
toss.
yeah, you get to
Yeah,
defer.
we
I guess.
both deferred.
But did
So
you
now
show
care?
it?
I won the coin toss though. So Scott, you have
Yeah.
to go.
Okay. All right. Fine.
I could have
Yeah,
shown
sure.
it, but yeah, I mean, it just shows tails. Whatever. We're making moves. We're getting shit done.
Okay.
All right. All right. Yeah. Whatever. Okay.
Man, let's go first.
This feels like when you ask your girlfriend like, "What do you want to eat?" and then she just says that you don't care, and then that she doesn't care, and then you start giving options, and then she keeps shooting down all of your options. Like you didn't care who went, and then you won the coin toss, and then you're like, "No, now I'm gonna choose."
I don't care who won the toy shots either way. Who picked tails?
He
So
did,
he gets to.
and I'm
He gets
going
to.
first.
Yeah, he gets
He
to
said I
choose.
go first.
Yeah, you go. Okay. Yeah. Simple. All right. Whenever you're ready. Let's do. Oh well, first let's introduce the topic. Hey, welcome everybody
Yeah,
to
right.
the debate championship series finale of our inaugural Grand Prix. I have decided what the prize is going to be. The winner. Send me your mailing address after we're done, or whatever PO box, or get one, and I'm going to send you a nice debate championship series hoodie with your name on the top that says inaugural Grand Prix champion. And folks, if y'all like it, this one's going to be from Custom Ink because I'm lazy and I don't want to clean out my garage. But if y'all like it, I have the ability to make any kind of merch y'all want for these kind of things. So if y'all like to make championship merch, we can make that. We can figure out a cost that's fair for everybody. Moving on, let's just introduce everybody. Scott, I'll start with you. This is one of our wonderful judges. Tell us who you are, what you do, where you're at, where you're from, all that good jazz.
Hello, I'm Skyana. I am 24 and I am a video gamer. I mainly play Rivals and Valorant, and that's about it.
Fantastic.
Can we
And where
shout
they
out
find you?
Skyana, please?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, moving on. Okay. Let's go to you, Fabian. Who are you? What you do? Where you at?
Yeah, I am Fabian Liberty. You can find me primarily on X and streaming on YouTube. I'm in other places, but I don't. That's where I make content. I am an anarcho-capitalist, which is like final boss of libertarianism, essentially. And I do debates and political philosophy and reactions and things like that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Lactoid.
Hey, I'm Lactoid. You can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm a lawyer and political guy, and yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks. He was also the runner-up in the cute bot political royale, only losing to me.
I remember.
As Admiral lives, yeah. It was,
Wow.
good stuff. So we'll see if he can break his runner-up curse today or not. And finally, but last but not least, Hot and Streaming. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hot and Streamy. I am a fellow streamer here on Twitch, currently streaming 4 days a week. And lately, I've been into Discord call-ins. That has been my jamboree, but in the past, I've done e-dates, painting, song request, IRL streams, cooking, variety streamer, you name it. That's all.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have liked your Discord call format model quite a bit. It reminds me of very much of like morning talk radio. I like it a lot. I think you nailed it with that one. But yeah,
I think
check
so.
her out.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. All that good jazz. But all right, moving on. Let's get started here. Here's what the topic is. The topic is should there be any restrictions for private citizens owning any kind of weapon, up to including WMDs. Starting first is going to be Fabian. Let's go.
All right, let me know when. Are you ready? All right.
I'm ready when you are, Papa.
There ought to be no limits or control of guns. The only way to stop the Bloods and the Crips from killing each other in the streets is to arm McDonald's with McNukes for the Burger King wars and put a killdozer in every garage to finally get the kids off my fucking lawn. I'm sure many of you have heard these arguments before and might even think that that's what I'm arguing for tonight. I have the unenviable task to argue uphill against memes and dispel myths, but I intend to argue the ANCAP position. We need more regulation. It is my position that the socialists, both the Republican and Democrat variety, wish to maintain an irresponsible and reckless monopoly on the most dangerous weapons ever created in human history. They claim that these weapons are too dangerous to be maintained and regulated by the market, and that for our safety we must trust a monopoly, often working in the shadows, with a storied history of wanton slaughter of innocents, irresponsible mismanagement, corrupt corporate influences, and a litany of other crimes to their character. My argument is simple. WMDs, large armaments, nuclear technology, and security from similar threats is far too dangerous to leave unregulated by the people and in the hands of a reckless monopoly. First, it's important to note that I consider property and bodily autonomy to be unalienable human rights. This does not magically become untrue just because the property in question can be used to harm another person. All property is material and unconscious. As such, property may be used for good or evil. A baseball bat may be a tool for a game or a mugging. A gun may be used to defend the innocent or kill them. Gain-of-function research can be used to create a virus or a cure. No state regulations on property that disbars someone from having property and using it in a non-aggressive way against their will can be considered justifiable. After all, we often hear after a school shooting that so-called assault rifles are weapons of war, and must be abolished, despite the fact that overwhelmingly murders with guns occur from utilizing handguns. The same arguments against the possession of large arms are the same arguments against assault rifles, and were the same arguments in the UK for abolishing gun crime in favor of knife crime, and were the same arguments for abolishing kitchen knives with pointed tips. In the future, these may be the same arguments to abolishing forks in favor of blunted chopsticks. Unlike my opponent, I'm not in favor of abolishing forks, no matter how much I enjoy beef and broccoli. Next, we must discuss a deeply held and false assumption on the nature of regulation. That is, that regulation is something the government does for our safety and that the market does not regulate. When one such as myself argues that the market should be in charge of these weapons instead of the government, the knee-jerk reaction is, who will regulate them if not the state? The answer is that very market, but I'm sure that most of you will remain unconvinced. So we must look at incentives and evidence to establish the fact that the market regulates dangerous property better than the state. The government control of dangerous property is a monopoly. As any economist worth their salt knows, competition breeds innovation and monopolies breed stagnation. A company in charge of a nuclear reactor or weapon is incentivized through profit to constantly prove to their investors and customers that their product is safer than their competitors, and thus they are incentivized to research and develop systems of management and technologies that reduce risk. This reduction in risk reduces their insurance premiums, attracts customers, and lowers costs. The government, however, is bound by layers of national secrecy, congressional oversight by simpletons who think the internet is a series of fucking tubes, elections, and justifications for budget. The effect of this is that the government creates layers of inefficient red tape that has crippled the very nation that invented nuclear technology from using it to lower energy costs and help fight climate change. Just recently, Meta had to stop production of a local nuclear reactor to power their AI projects because environmental regulators determined it may disrupt a local frog that isn't even on the endangered species list. I'm sure powering Meta AI with coal will save a ton of fucking frogs. Instead, they've chosen to use our taxes to subsidize slave labor for conflict minerals to build solar panels in China. Okay, nuclear power deregulation is an easy win. What about really dangerous things like gain of function research? After years of government-led censorship, we can finally say with relatively low fear that the U.S. funded gain of function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology and constructed level 4 biolabs in Ukraine via NIH funding, Hunter Biden firm Rosedale Capital, CIA funding through In-Q-Tel and Black & Vetch, Medobiota's Nathan Wolfe, who's close friends with Ghislaine Maxwell and works for DARPA, and many more devious connections. The result of which being a probable lab leak that killed somewhere between 5 to 18 million people. That's somewhere between 1 to 3 Holocausts for those keeping count. So mistakes were made, people died, but the market will be worse, you might say. Maybe, however, we have one example of a functioning ANCAP society today in Prospera, Honduras. Prospera is an ANCAP society where individuals and companies are regulated by insurance companies acting as rights enforcement agencies in competition with one another. One of Prospera's main industries is gene therapy research outside of government regulation. The funny thing is that every single insurance company in Prospera has decided that they will refuse to insure level 4 biolabs or gain of function research, despite the lack of government regulation. In short, when the government monopoly is in charge of regulation of dangerous property, they fund dangerous research with limited oversight and protection, killing millions worldwide. And when the market regulates itself, the incentives cause an effective ban on such dangerous practices while allowing innovation to spur progress for humanity. I have 3 paragraphs left. Let me get through. I'll get them quick. Lastly, we must discuss the elephant in the room, nukes. The arguments for these are no different than abolishing kitchen knives or gain of function research, but the scale of these weapons cannot be easily dismissed. We know all too well the threat of nuclear weapons from our own history. On August 6, 1945, we dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, murdering an estimated 140,000 people. While there may be some argument for the necessity of this, these arguments instantly evaporate 3 days later, along with 20,000 people living in Nagasaki and roughly 54,000 more people who died the slow and agonizing death of radiation poisoning and cancer. I'll skip this paragraph and go to my final. Guns, large arms, biomedical research, and yes, even nuclear warheads must be heavily regulated. The U.S. government and other nations of the world are not up to this task due to their corrupt monopoly that is disincentivized from being responsible stewards of such threats. They have proven time and time again that they fall to corruption, shrouded in secrecy, as well as lacking the proper market regulations to incentivize innovation or prevent violence. These same governments have enacted or funded countless genocides and even a pandemic with an authority imposed on liberty via force and coercion. The nations of the world with large standing armies and armaments have narrowly escaped World War III on several occasions due to this lack of innovation, competition, and corrupt incentives. And in many cases, a few unsung heroes, a single man such as Alexandrovich Arkhipov, have proven that the common man has the desire and moral fortitude our governments lack to save humanity.
All right, thank you so much. We just reset this timer, and we'll be good to go here. And all right, Lactoid, go ahead now.
All right, I want to start by saying that I am a freedom-loving American. I do value freedom very strongly. I consider myself a libertarian. That said, personal freedom must be reasonably restricted by the risks that your activities pose to other innocent people around you. This is the exact justification for things like driver's licenses, altitude requirements for commercial flights, and why you can't manufacture mustard gas in your apartment. You can't shoot bullets at somebody randomly, and then just claim no harm was done because you happened to miss. Such restrictions are necessary, but also must be reasonable because we don't want to go overboard and ban butter knives, in which case the personal liberty interest is much greater than the potential harm. However, private nuke ownership is not just unreasonable, but it's unreasonable to the point that it's simply insane. Such a system would threaten national security and social stability and imposes a risk of harm sufficiently high to, in of itself, constitute a harm. What is that risk? Nuclear annihilation of millions of people. This is an unacceptable outcome. Nuclear weapons are scary enough when they are controlled by a limited number of relatively stable governments with oversight structures in place. Allowing private ownership of nuclear weapons, by definition, removes this oversight. It allows for individuals who wake up one day, lose their minds, and fire nuclear weapons indiscriminately at civilian centers. It expands the risk. It creates more of these people. It allows private individuals to fight against one another, or private corporations, right, the McNuke, to fight against one another, vying for control, using weapons that have immense collateral damage. These weapons are so dangerous that they would also credibly deter a government from coming to arrest somebody if they had these weapons. How would a government be able to even intervene if Elon or any of these other billionaires decided to go wild? How are you going to arrest somebody? They have a nuke. We'd be living under the shadow of threat from a potentially unhinged tech guru who could obliterate the planet. This is an unacceptable risk. Even if Elon doesn't wake up one day and go insane, the proliferation of these weapons also constitute a risk. People could be reckless with these nuclear weapons. They could be stolen. They could be stolen by bad actors. We have trouble enough securing the nuclear weapons that are currently managed by government forces. Could you imagine if some corporation who is not under any kind of oversight, perhaps is prioritizing profit and has a more risk prioritized sense of being, perhaps they could have their nuclear weapons stolen. Things get stolen from corporations all the time. And without specific laws and regulations in place to prevent that, what could stop it other than the corporation's interest in their own profit margin? Which, if it costs too much to secure the nuclear weapons, the company would have to prioritize not securing the nuclear weapons, which again, disproportionately increases the risk. It is an absurd risk. It is an absurd proposition. We should not allow people to individually own nuclear weapons. I'm okay with small arms, but I don't want to get nuked by Elon if he gets pissed off.
Fantastic. Sick 'em.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you want to respond to? I feel like I had a much larger opening statement with a lot more arguments entailed in it.
Sure. I mean, I
start by
I wrote down
engaging
some
with mine.
I wrote down some of your points, and I have some
Mhm.
responses. So I wanted to start off by saying that, you know, as somebody who does insurance defense, I don't think insurance is really going to be a serious deterrence here for potentially unhinged or reckless people from getting a hold of nuclear weapons. In fact, I deal with people
Mhm.
all the time who are reckless and are still able to obtain dangerous objects and then just don't get insurance on them. Insurance is a good idea, but it can be purchased and often is intentionally purchased by people who are risk adverse, not by people who are risk prone, right? People who are risk prone are
Yeah.
probably going to get the weapons and just simply not buy insurance. And then
Yeah. So,
we can address that, and then I got some
okay.
other
No, sorry.
criticisms as well.
Yeah, I would address that. So first and foremost, there is a direct the problem that I have with most of this, and I think I brought it up in my opening statement again, right, is there is this concept, this fallacy that is snuck in, right, which is that the government regulates it, and since the government regulates it, that is good regulation, or that is what regulation is, right? The market has a regulating mechanism, and the state has a regulating mechanism. These are two different forms of regulation. My argument isn't that crazy people don't exist or that violence doesn't occur. My argument is that the state is not incentivized in the same way that the market is to actually ensure safety in this regard, that the state's incentives are more perverse. And so, like, I agree that crazy people get things. So let's talk about the concept of a nuke, right? As it stands, like, it's extremely expensive to be able to produce a functioning nuclear warhead.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So the idea that like a meth lab guy in a trailer creating a nuke is like not is not a realistic risk.
Well, it could
right?
be a ketamine guy, perhaps, who has a lot of money and buys a nuke too, right?
Again, right? But again, we would be talking about absurdly wealthy people,
Right, who
first and
perhaps have like a
foremost,
ketamine
to ever be able
addiction,
to
who,
purchase one.
who might get to the point where they become mentally unhinged, right? This could happen.
Right, for sure. Well, I mean, like we could have people that within our own governments that do things that are extremely risky.
You
And,
you you
you know
can.
what I mean? Like
Well,
this
you
happens
can,
both
and
ways,
this
right?
you're right. It does, and so I actually have I wrote down responses to those points as well. Um, I think that when you point to examples of governments
But the
going
risk,
rogue, that's not a sufficient response to the additional potential damage that can come from proliferating this among a larger group of people and having less regulation. Right? Market regulations don't necessarily control
no,
for
no, 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 no,
safety;
no.
they control for
Right? No, I
profitability.
gave a specific. You're right, but that's not my argument. My argument is that the government is less regulation than the market, and I gave a specific example of, for example, level 4 biolabs and gain of function research. The government funds gain of function research. The government funds level 4 biolabs, and when we have the only working example of a society that engages in an anarcho-capitalist or in a libertarian free market way of regulation, we have a group that says it's not worth
No,
the
I
risk.
understand.
That
You
the
could have.
risk of
You're right.
these is not worth it.
You could
right?
have
So we've got
Prospera.
5 to 18 million dead people in the world right now. That is proof of how the government is bad at this. And the only example we have of the market doing it is that they
No,
abolish it.
that's hold on, but you're saying they abolish it. You can have like a small, very small organization like Prospera that isn't not leveraging
Mhm.
nearly the amount of resources or it doesn't have nearly the amount of global responsibilities as countries like the
Mhm.
United States have. You can show me like
Mhm.
Prospera that's not engaged in this activity, just like I can show you plenty of nonprofits or different organizations that are also not involved in this activity. But again,
Yeah, well,
just because
unfortunately, I
you
only
can
have
point,
one example.
well, I know,
because
well,
it's
I
the only
know,
ANCAP
well,
society,
you can point to
right?
Prospera and say, look, they don't, they're not abusing nukes, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. But what we're talking about is in the current context of America
Mhm.
or the world, what would happen if we allowed private individuals to just begin arming themselves with nuclear weapons? Can you point to me a single society
Mhm.
that increased regulations on like firearms, for example, and this led
Mhm.
to like the restrictions on people owning firearms, reducing the amount of firearms that
Mhm.
people's own, and I'm in favor of owning firearms. But can you show me any society that like dropped like strict restrictions, nobody can own a firearm, and they're like that policy dramatically increased the amount of people owning firearms and using them recklessly?
Well, I think that's a I don't see the relevancy to that, but we could talk about the UK and how they banned firearms to stop firearm violence, and then murder rates went up. They just happened to occur with knives, and despite the fact that yes, a knife is less of a force multiplier than a gun, what we see is that the wounds that are inflicted from knives are often more fatal than guns. So that is what the kind of the increase in the murder rate. It wasn't necessarily an increase in the crime, but the weapon that was utilized is
So
tends to be more devastating.
the murder rate of the UK is like magnitudes less than the US. But even if we roll with that as being true, like if we're
Okay.
comparing the actual dangerousness of the weapon, like
Mhm.
you can make the argument that firearms, I guess, are like uniquely positioned to be able to provide somebody with like a self defense option. But nuclear weapons aren't,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Like if we're looking at lowering
Yeah,
overall like crime stats in
yeah.
the
The
US,
nuclear
you're
weapons,
not going to fire a
nuclear
nuke at a
weapons
guy
are
coming with a knife.
yeah,
That's
like
ridiculous.
philosophically speaking, right? Like because if we're talking about a free market mechanism, right, we are talking about a form of market that recognizes the non-aggression principle,
Here's
right?
about
If we're
5
talking
minutes. We're
about
gonna get the ladies in here on some questions here, but go ahead.
yeah, sure. So, right. So if we're talking about this, you're absolutely correct that there's something different between, let's say, a small arm, a firearm, and a nuclear warhead beyond just the cost, right? And that is that the potential death toll from a nuclear weapon is much, much
You could
higher,
blow up the whole
right?
world.
And so, well, you can't blow up the whole world with one nuke, but yeah, right.
Well,
Let's say,
multiple. I'm
even let's
assuming
say
you're
there
not going to
was,
cap it
right,
at
right.
one, right? I mean, Elon could probably buy several.
I mean, Elon might be the only person in America that could buy several nuclear weapons, but regardless, it's irrelevant to what I'm saying. So the scale is larger. You're absolutely correct. And because the scale is larger, what institutes a threat is also different. Right? If I have a firearm in my waistband and I'm open carrying, right? That's not a threat. Especially if I'm in a place like Texas where I'm intersubjectively communicating, right? That I'm not a threat because gun culture is very common in Texas. But if I attempt to build a nuclear weapon in a community, well, what am I communicating there? you're absolutely communicating some form of threat. You're absolutely communicating if you are not engaged in a serious level of insurance or a serious level
hold on.
of protections. You're
I want to address
communicating a
that
threat.
first part.
No different than if I point a gun at somebody, right? If I point a gun at somebody, I don't, in order to defend myself, I don't need to wait for them to pull the trigger.
Right, you're
Something
sure.
is similarly
but even
true when you build a nuclear weapon, and especially if you
Okay.
arm said nuclear weapon.
Right, I don't disagree. Like if you aim a nuclear weapon and you arm it, like the threat potential is now magnified tremendously, and you've shown an intent to hurt somebody. But just showing an intent, that's not the only factor when we're analyzing like a threat profile. There is a certain level of threat posed whenever somebody is armed. That's the point. I want to be a threat to people who are going to attack me. So if I'm having a gun on me, whether it be open carry or concealed carry, that is a threat.
So open carry is a threat?
By definition, right? I'm posing a threat to people who otherwise hurt me. Yes, of course.
So is it a form of so is our threats aggression or are they not aggression?
So threats are aggression in the sense that they are imposing a risk upon everybody around you, and that risk needs to be weighed against the personal freedom prerogative that we all have in terms of respecting
our rights. So if
our
I go to
rights.
the gym and I get really big muscles, am I threatening everyone
Yes,
around me?
big muscular. Yes, a big muscular man. If I'm walking,
it's an act of aggression to lift weights.
Oh,
Scott,
man,
if I'm walking down the
Violating
street,
the nap by lifting weights.
Scott, I'm gonna appeal. No, I'm gonna appeal. Let me appeal to the ladies real quick. If I'm walking down the street and I'm like a huge man or whatever, or if I'm looking at there's a huge man walking towards me, I'm gonna feel threatened more than if it's like a smaller person or a woman. And women are justified for feeling threatened in the middle of the night if there's some giant dude walking behind them, as opposed to some smaller person.
So
because
I think
because
this
the
is a
threat
silly-
profile.
I think this is a silly
You think
definition
this
of
is
threat.
silly?
But regardless,
Are they not more of a
hold on,
threat?
hold on,
Are
hold on.
giant men
It
not
doesn't-
more of a
it
threat
doesn't-
than
hold on,
women?
pause.
Let me pause. Let me ask
It's
you a question. Is that absolutely
Oh my
true?
God.
Is it more scary to walk in the middle of the
Don't
night
save him.
with one giant dude, or versus like I don't know the crackhead tweaker who's 125?
If they're a crackhead tweaker, then there's other like indicators of threat at play.
Just wanted to be clear. Okay.
So again,
I think it
Because
depends on positioning.
Because they're tweaking out on crack.
Shush. It doesn't matter.
Shush.
You're distracting because you're doing an internal critique of my concept of what is or isn't a threat. Okay, so you cannot do an internal critique of my concept of the non-aggression principle.
No, I'm not doing an internal critique at all.
Loading in your definition.
I'm
of
talking
threat.
about what I'm
Okay,
defining
so
as a threat
if
here.
You think that exactly. So
Yeah, what
if
I'm
you
defining
think-
as a threat.
Yes, you are, but you are doing an internal critique.
I'm not
as
doing an internal. No.
against my yes, you are.
I'm presenting what a threat is. Okay. Walking around to the gun.
Threats apply to aggression. You are doing an internal critique on the non.
Wait. Gibbs. One question real quick. What if? Gibbs? One last question, and then you can pause it. What if, without showing any intent of hurting somebody, I recklessly or accidentally wave my gun in somebody's face? No intent to shoot them, but there's still a threat posed by me waving the gun in front of somebody's face, right?
You've communicated. You've engaged in action that communicates negligence and is a potential threat.
Okay. All right. Cool. Great. Pause. All right, Scotty, you got a question?
Crazy
for
people
us?
mug people all the time with no intent because they think Jesus told them. or
The
something.
risk of somebody
Because
shooting
you're not
you,
engaged in
the
aggression.
risk of somebody shooting you is higher when they're aiming at you. The risk is also higher if they have a gun like strapped to their chest. Of course, that's the whole point.
Thank you. All right, Skyana, you got a question for us? What are your thoughts so far? Your questions for the broskies here?
If I have one, I don't know if I have a question. I'm just
Okay, that's fine.
noting every here and there.
That's awesome. All right, cool. That's fine. Hot and Streamy, do you have a question for us?
Okay, so we sort of diverged from the whole topic of what we were supposed to be discussing today.
We
but I
went
just
from
wanna
gun
touch
to
on-
nukes.
Yeah, so
It's any weapon, really.
Well, they're
but-
Very
parallel. They're
fast.
Okay.
parallels, but they're
Okay.
also disparallels, right? Like
yeah.
Yeah.
flagging of a firearm is not the same with nukes. Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, though.
I will say that I think people that, go to the gym to work out, to get buff and big, that's one of their reasonings behind it, is to get big and intimidating and look like a little bit of a threat. I would say there could be other factors as well, health and all of that. But if you're going to the gym to get deezed, I think part of your motivation is to be looking like a threat. But regardless, that's besides the point. Back to nukes. What if there were, how do you guys feel? Like, when we're talking about owning nukes, are we talking about to better, like with nuclear power plants and energy sources, or are you just talking about owning nukes as a weapon? Because I think there's two very
Weapons.
Specifically
different
the weapons.
ICBMs. Being
as
able
a
to
weapon.
yeah, as a
Well,
weapon.
no, I
Yeah.
don't think you can. I don't think you can dislink the two, and I'll explain. Right?
Well, sure, okay. You think that.
Right, like I agree, right, that we can focus because it helps Lactoid's argument by me engaging in meme category solely on the nuclear weapon position, right? Because it's the most extreme example, and but
This is your actual
it is
position.
inexorably tied. Yeah, well, yeah, I know, it's fine. I have no problem going to the extreme ends, right? Like I said in the beginning, right, it's an uphill battle against memes, which is what you're providing. I appreciate it. So you can't fully disconnect nuclear reactors and nuclear weapons, right? And because our current nation states don't, right? It is we use our threats and violence constantly to engage in treaties where we force countries to not be allowed to have nuclear weapons, where we bully them, we use IMF loans and all these things so that we will allow them the privilege of being able to buy processed nuclear material at incredibly high rates that they don't get to process or mine themselves, and access to our information so that they can have the nuclear reactors for energy. So I agree that these are two different things, and yet the consequences are certainly tied together, right? The state's control over nuclear arsenal has an extreme impact on the cost and the ability of the world to use green energy as opposed to coal, natural gas, and some of the more dirty things, or even solar panels that utilize slave labor and come out of China.
Let me respond to that. So
I'm going to say something after that. We're going to go from there. So
sure. There's a link in the sense that both of them could potentially be highly dangerous to the people around them. I think owning an ICBM is it is like an extreme position, which is why I'm arguing against it. I think that if you owning an ICBM, for example, would allow you to target civilian centers anywhere in the world and be able to fire them with no credible way of preventing the nuclear weapon from hitting the target and going off within a matter of minutes. We're talking about a risk.
When you say ICBM, you're talking about a nuclear warhead?
Yes,
not
yes.
An intercontinental ballistic missile?
Intercontinental ballistic missiles are oftentimes armed with nuclear warheads. I'm specifically referring to...
Okay, yeah, sure. Yes, it's like the nukes would be a subcategory.
Yeah, they're almost never armed with... They can be armed with conventional weapons. They almost never are. But, like,
they're also armed like small nukes.
They can't... Now, just to be clear here, though, you could... I don't think you should allow individuals to own nuclear reactors either, because of the risk of meltdown and radioactive exposure. But if for some reason you wanted individuals to be able to own nuclear power plants, you could do that and still not let them own nuclear weapons. The type of radioactive material needed for nuclear weapons is highly enriched uranium. It's uranium that's enriched beyond a certain percentile. We're talking well into the 90 percentile, which is much higher than the type of enrichment you need for uranium used for a nuclear reactor. So if you wanted to say, hey, you know what, I trust this company with like a nuclear reactor, now I might not agree with you, but that would be like more of a reasonable position, and you still could prevent that from like going haywire, and you could still regulate that.
What? Because so far everything you've said I agree with, right? My argument is we need more regulation. Right, my argument is that I want less nuclear warheads in the world.
How would that lead to less?
Is that you wish to trust the state with those nuclear weapons in their control?
Yes. Whenever you deregulate,
less nuclear weapons.
No, you're not. Whenever you deregulate a weapons,
whenever
you deregulate a
tell
weapon,
me I'm not arguing for that.
I'm asserting that your position necessarily entails that. When you are arguing for deregulate for any kind of weapons industry, when you deregulate that weapons industry, it leads to a proliferation of those weapons. Look, there's a lot of guns in America. I'm fine with that. But one of the reasons there's so many guns in America is because we allow private ownership of guns. If we ban private ownership of guns, there wouldn't be any guns.
Same
thing with nukes. Same thing with nuclear weapons. You're advocating for private ownership.
You have slipped in a straw man. I'm not arguing for deregulation.
You're arguing for private ownership. I'm saying that private ownership, Yes, we allow private ownership of guns in the U.S. You think there would be more guns? Let me finish the sentence real quick. I'm going to finish the sentence. I'm going to finish the sentence. And then I'm going to finish.
Because I'm about to body your ass.
Talking over you is the middle of my sentence interrupting the beginning of yours. You must be. Yeah, I will finish.
You're going to finish.
You best believe it. You
got 1
best
minute
believe it.
after that,
Go ahead.
and then I'm gonna pause y'all, and then so here, that's what's gonna happen.
Thank you,
You
Gibbs.
finish?
You're a gentleman,
All right,
Gibbs. I
good.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's good. I mean, I don't know why better
The
than me.
Admiral.
I'm not voting. I'm not voting, but you finish the thing. Then he's got him 1 minute, and then I'm gonna
Yeah,
ask
get
a
to
quick
it. Don't
question.
create so much
and decide.
space.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why I did that.
Sure. So what I'm saying is that one of the reasons why you have such a major proliferation of firearms in the United States, it's because you allow private ownership. People want to go buy guns, so there are more guns. You have a market, there's a profit incentive to build guns and sell them. Your argument, if you're saying, well, I want fewer nukes or I want fewer guns, you basically have to be taking the argument that, well, if we ban private ownership of guns in the US, there would somehow be more guns. That makes no sense. If you allow private ownership of nukes, there would be more
you
nukes.
straw man
And
on
if you
top of the
didn't, and if
straw
you
man.
didn't allow private ownership of nukes, you would have less nukes.
Okay, yeah. So
Fabian, go ahead.
let's work
Real quick,
backwards
real
from
quick.
the straw mans that you're constructing, right? So the first one, working backwards is that nukes and guns are the same, even though we already agreed that nukes and guns aren't the same. So when you already agreed, you already defeated your own argument. So I'll just set that aside because that's just an L that is factually observable, right? So we'll move on because we both agreed nukes and guns aren't the same thing, right? And so the regulation would be
They're
different.
both weapons.
Okay, so I'm saying you're saying no. Pause. Yes, just like apples and oranges are both fruit, but they're not the same. Okay. Nevertheless,
They abide by the same
again,
market
I said
principles.
that I'm.
Let him
sorry,
finish.
sorry,
Am I going to be able to?
Let's
Are you?
get through this real quick. Go
Am I
ahead.
good?
Yeah, you got a minute.
Yeah. So right. So again, you said that I'm arguing for deregulation. Right. My entire argument has been constructed that the market regulates at a higher level. Now, if the state maintains a monopoly on power and violence and does not allow individuals to engage in the market-based solutions of regulation, but simply reduces the laws and regulations that they have, that is not what I am arguing for. You're arguing for maintaining the monopoly on power and violence and the regulation of these firearms, but reducing. You're stating that I'm for maintaining that structure as an anarchist, which I'm not, but just reducing what it is that are enforcement mechanisms and laws that the state engages in. That's not my argument at all. My argument is that to get rid of the state's monopoly on power and violence, and part of that is the state's monopoly on power and violence with these weapons. A nuclear facility and warhead being built is the same thing as brandishing a firearm. Okay, when you build a weapon that has the ability to level cities and towns, you are doing the same thing as a person that is flagging a weapon. It is not the same thing as there is not a one-to-one here that you can build a gun and there's like this communication that it's fine until you flag it. The very act of constructing a nuclear warhead showcases some intent to engage in mass destructive warfare at city leveling of event type levels. They're not. You can't say that guns are the same as nukes when it's convenient to you, and then say that guns and nukes are different when it's convenient to you. You either have to recognize that they're different.
All right, let me address that.
Hold on. No address it. You can address it after we get to go here. I got questions for you first.
What the fuck?
Listen. Y'all go back and forth. Y'all are gonna keep bringing.
He just contradicted his whole argument.
Sure. You can. I'm gonna ask, and you can answer, respond to that here in a second. Here. All right, real quick. Okay. So, Anne brought this up a little bit earlier. I want a one sentence clarification from each of you. One short sentence.
Mhm.
All right. So she brought up how you go to the gym, and she thinks it's somewhat of a threat, right? In Texas, the argument for guns would be it's also deterrence. Like, hey, I got beat up. I don't want to get beat up no more. Maybe this will deter people, right? Is that a fact? Would y'all agree that that's a factual statement? Yes or no? Or could be? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Sky, what was your question? Did you raise your hand? You had something.
No.
Nope. Okay. That's you raised your hand. All right, cool.
It's like,
I
thought you were gonna
was
ask the
just
question to me, right?
curious.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sky.
no, you can
Sorry, I
answer.
thought you were saying Scott.
Yeah, Sky on it. Yeah.
You're still using a fucking headset mic, bro.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll fix it soon. Yeah. Go ahead, Sky. Did you had a question?
In your same way, I just want to elaborate. You were talking about Elon Musk like owning a new. Like, are you okay with that, Scott, or are you not okay with that?
Yeah, we built a missile silo on my ranch tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I know this seems like a cop-out answer.
It's
Like,
the
if
whole
he
debate.
owns
It depends
one.
is the right thing, because like, why would he have one? You know what I mean? Like it would depend upon what he is doing with said nuke and why he is procuring it. because it would depend on what he's communicating by getting a nuke. Right, a nuke is different than a firearm, right? If I have a firearm,
Yeah, 100%.
right,
That's what we
a firearm
deterred
can
like
be
so
used
quickly
for
from gun control
self-defense.
immediately, just nuking
Right. Like when I purchase a firearm, I'm saying I can use this to kill people, and I can use this for self-defense. If I procure a nuclear weapon, there isn't really a self-defense kind of situation for nukes. There is a mutually assured destruction situation here, right? So they're communicating different things. And so if Elon Musk was to set up a private military, like Blackwater or something, right, and was to engage in that, and then part of that to protect his kind of like thing via mutually assured destruction was to have a nuke, well, then that kind of communicates something different than just like I want a nuke for fun.
Okay.
Can I
go ahead? Yeah, you could go and you can respond to whatever, and then I'll let you go back and forth.
Okay. All right. This is a little bit. I'm going to address one thing, and then some shameless shit's going on right now. Okay, I want you guys to see it. So, first of all, Scott is advocating for deregulation. There is a regulation that does not allow private ownership of nuclear weapons. He is advocating to get rid of this regulation, which is by definition deregulation. The whole point of this debate is talking about whether private individuals should be able to own nuclear weapons.
That's what I was questioning.
Yes, I appreciate that question because that was the thesis.
Criminal
deregulation, that was the
decriminalization.
thesis.
Do those become two different things, or are they the exact
Well,
same?
it's
Decriminalization is a type of deregulation for sure. When we're talking specifically about nuclear weapons, right? The point of this whole debate was you were coming with the position of individuals
has taken
hold
the
on,
market's right
hold
to
on,
regulate.
hold on. Gibbs, come on.
Regulation.
Let him go. Let's let him
yes,
go.
you came into this debate. Your position was that private individuals should be able to own nuclear weapons. My whole intro, the whole time I've been saying, no, we shouldn't let private individuals own nuclear weapons. You just before the question, which was a great question, by the way, before it was said, you said that if you build a weapon with the ability to level a city, this is identical to flagging a weapon. I agree, and I don't want people to be able to flag weapons, and I don't want people to be able to build or own nuclear weapons. That's the position that I came to this debate with.
Because you believe that the government should do it. A government with a horrible track record.
Ideally, no one would do it.
Murdered millions of people.
Ideally, no one would do it. But you're advocating for private individuals to be able to do it too.
So you're not actually arguing that the state maintains the control on it. You're actually arguing that the state get rid of all nuclear weapons.
Ideally, we would have no nuclear weapons. I would agree. But if we are in the situation now, unfortunately, where governments have nuclear weapons, that doesn't mean we make the problem worse by allowing Elon to own one.
Okay, but absent every other nation, right? Like we recognize that other nations have nukes, right? And you made this argument earlier where you said that, like, oh, if a person has a nuke, like, we can't stop them. What are we to do? I think we're kind of in this situation with the war in Ukraine and Putin, right? Like, we can't go get Putin. Why can't we get Putin? Because they have fucking nukes, right? Like, we already live in that world. So you're proposing that this is a new problem, except you're describing an existing problem under state ownership of nukes.
No, this is not true.
Again,
this is not true.
When I say deregulation, you're using deregulation as a fun little like jab, using it as a word to try and stick to the concept that if I say the state ought not be the one that regulates something, therefore it is deregulation. What I am saying is that the state has stolen the right of regulation from people. They have stolen the right of people to engage in all sorts of activities.
Like
For
own
example,
nukes?
protecting my... Well, yes, like owning nukes, but also
it's a good thing.
I don't know, getting degenerates out of my neighborhood because the cops are the ones that are only allowed to do this, right? Having private security for all sorts of things is massively regulated because the state has taken control over these aspects. They have taken the entire criminal justice system, the entire process and idea of property rights under their domain. So when I'm saying I'm not for deregulation, I'm for the dismantling of the nation state. I am a fucking anarchist, okay? And so that doesn't mean now anybody can have a nuke whenever they want, because that's not what I'm arguing for.
No, you're advocating for private ownership.
Regulation.
You're saying Elon Musk should be able to own it. This is a sentence. This is a sentence from my intro.
Less nukes and less
I want to address the Russian example. This is the
This
is a sentence directly from my intro that I stated before. Quote: nuclear weapons are scary enough when they are controlled by a limited number of relatively stable governments with oversight structures in place. They are scary enough. Yes, it is still scary. Like I said in my intro, the idea that Russia has nuclear weapons and now, we can't touch them, that's a concern. I don't want to make that problem worse by now if Elon decides to invade Ukraine, we can't go to Tesla headquarters because if we do, he's going to fire an ICBM at Washington, D.C. I don't want to have that problem.
Let me ask this, and then
So Elon Musk is going to blow up.
Hold on,
He
one
might.
second.
I don't know.
Let me ask a question here. And it's Skyler. Did you have
Russia
another
might.
one?
I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of
Okay,
did.
cool. Okay, so let me ask a question. Y'all can. I want y'all to give me a short answer specifically to my question. Then we're gonna let Skyler ask. And if you have a question, we get you another one here as well. I want you. Well, I guess Lactoid first. I want you to tell me the fundamental difference between Kim Jong Un, who's a dictator, basically very powerful, owning a nuclear missile, and say Elon Musk, and if there is one. And then Fabian, you can answer that as well. Make it quick, and then we're gonna Sky on it.
I don't think there is a fundamental difference, and that's like
Okay.
what is so scary about Kim Jong Un having nuclear weapons, and why we tried for so long to prevent him from getting nuclear weapons, because he runs that country as a dictator. He runs that country at like he is the head honcho in charge, very much like the owner of a company, right? The owner of property, the owner of capital. So if you own an entire country and you got nuclear weapons and you're unhinged like Kim Jong Un is, this is scary. I don't want him to own nukes, but why should we make this problem worse by allowing this kind of problem to become more and more common? I don't want other Kim Jong Uns to start popping up because we don't have a rule saying, hey, no more future Kim Jong Uns.
All right, Fabian, you answer. Then we'll go Sky. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think there is a obviously Kim Jong Un and Elon Musk are different people, so obviously there is some difference between one owning nukes and the other owning nukes. Again, I am for market regulation, and because I'm for market regulation, and I recognize, as we have both now, hopefully we can agree, right, that that the ownership of a nuclear weapon is the same as brandishing a firearm, because these weapons are different, right? In 99.9% of cases, anybody that is owning a nuclear weapon is communicating a threat to everyone around them and is in violation of the non-aggression principle. And the correct means of correcting this situation is to violently stop them before they are capable of finishing whatever facility it is that they have to make.
So they shouldn't be able to own the nuke.
I'm saying we're talking about what limits should be on them in terms of the government. You have framed it this way falsely. And I said in my opening statement over and over again that the ANCAP position is more regulation. And then I explained in my opening again that there is a false premise and myth that the concept of regulation is something by which the state and a monopoly on power and violence engages in. And you have yet to deal with these arguments.
This
Instead,
debate was
you've
about
constructed
private
nothing but
ownership.
straw mans
This
over them.
debate was whether or not private owners,
Yes,
like
private
Elon,
ownership
should be able to
requires
buy a
more-
nuke.
Well,
Should
it's
they
not
be
about
allowed to
whether or
own a
not
nuke?
specifically
Yeah,
Elon
yes, it
should
was. It was
be
whether or
able
not
to
these
own
rich
a
Well,
nuke.
people
you
should be
even
able to
said
buy
that in
nukes.
your statement, I believe. Did you
Should
not?
wealthy people be able to own nukes? That was the whole thesis of the debate.
Yeah, like
Do they
Mr. Beast could have a fucking
right-
nuke.
Again,
I can have a nuke. Wouldn't that be sweet?
the argument isn't that we're talking about an individual. Can an individual own a nuke? And the answer is yes. Can a company own a nuke, as according to the philosophy of libertarianism, which you presume to believe in, but don't follow the nap. But again, right, I've explained, and I will explain again, that when you are building or obtaining nuclear weapons and you are not deeply communicating your responsibility to everyone else, and you are not intersubjectively communicating this, that it is the same thing as it is similar in this situation between the difference of someone that has properly maintained a firearm in their waistband and someone that is brandishing said firearm. The scope of the damage that exists within a nuclear weapon, or let's say chemical weapons, or let's say gain of function research, etc., right, is to such a scale that the standards of whether or not someone is communicating a threat to you is wildly different. A firearm that is in a holster is not an
So
is not,
let me
is not
ask you.
Hold on,
communicating a
hold on,
threat.
hold on. Before you ask anything,
Right, and
Did
the
you-
state
oh.
murders people and funds these things, and private market is not incentivized
When
to
I
do
say
such.
hold on, that means both of you. There you go. All right, hold on. Not just Lactoid, it's both. All right, cool. Here's the question. All right, Scott, did you have something like? I don't even know if you even asked. That was so
No, it's good. I
mean,
mean, by the time that they're
Oh.
halfway in their conversation, it like answers.
yeah,
That's
that's
fine.
fair. Hot
That
Streamy,
happens.
did you
Yeah.
have something for me? Did you have a question for him?
No, that's it. Well, I just want to just reiterate your stances now because
Also, real quick, I'm sorry.
Lactoid. So I know was Scott Fabian Liberty. Okay, I know your stance. Okay, you don't want even governments to have access to nukes as weapons, which we currently do, and so whatever. Lactoid,
Yeah.
what is your stance on this?
Well,
Exactly.
I'm a little okay. I think you maybe Scott. The argument is I'm saying that I would prefer if nobody owned nuclear weapons, but I don't want private individuals like Elon Musk, for example. I think it's good to have a rule saying he shouldn't be able to own a nuclear weapon. Coming into this debate, Scott's position was private individuals like Elon Musk should be able to buy and own nuclear weapons. So let me ask you this straightforward, Scott. Do you think that Elon Musk should, like, let's say tomorrow he says, you know what, I kind of want to own some nukes. It'll be kind of interesting. It'll be kind of fun. I'm not going to do anything bad with it, but I just want to own nuclear weapons. Should Elon Musk be able to buy and store nuclear warheads in his Tesla facility?
Yeah, in the example that you're giving, Elon Musk is communicating himself a threat to the world, and every single person in the world has the right to blow his brains out.
So Elon can't buy a nuke. Then you are against private ownership of nuclear weapons.
What if I want to
I'm not
buy?
against private ownership of nuclear weapons. I went specifically in what it is, the example that you gave. The example that you gave is Elon Musk randomly decides that he wants nuclear weapons, and he gives no reason behind what this is. He doesn't communicate anything other than, I want a toy that can blow up the world. He's not showcasing, and as I said before,
How could
the
he?
market would regulate 99.9% of nuclear weapons, would make that person a threat
Sure.
to everyone around them, and they would be killed.
What would Elon have to
What
do?
he would have to do, yeah.
Yeah, what would he have to do for you
Right,
to be
what Elon
comfortable
would
with
have to
him
do-
buying and
first of
owning a
all-
nuclear weapon?
First of all, he would have to disavow any connection to the state. He would have to completely decouple himself from all of his enmeshment with the state through SpaceX, through Tesla, through all of these other things. He is a current agent of the state, right? So if he was truly a free market individual and he went and bought some private island somewhere, number one.
Yeah, what if it
Number
was like
two,
me?
he would
Like, what if I
he would
wanted
have to
do it?
build he would have to build a business, right? Like he would have to build a business that showcases some rational usage, and to such a degree that everyone everyone agrees that this action of having a nuke
Everybody
is not
agrees?
showcasing his desire to use said nuke.
Well, hold on.
So we the people should all get together and put limitations and stop Elon from being able to own a nuke. We should regulate what he can do.
When I say everyone agrees, again, I'm talking about like an intersubjective communication, right? So when I say everyone agrees, what I mean is that what the actions you're engaging in communicate in such a means that everyone is capable of
What
understanding.
if I don't want him to
what
own a
is
nuke?
communicated.
What if I don't want him to own a
That's
nuke?
different. That's different, right? So like if I build a fence, for example, around property, it doesn't matter what language you speak. The action of building a fence is intersubjectively communicating to everyone that this is my land. Right?
Let me just
It
ask
doesn't
a
matter if
clarification
if someone comes to America and they can't read a no trespassing sign, right? It doesn't matter. The fence is there. What I'm talking about.
You're running
is that
away
he's
from your position,
engaged in-
Scott. You're
I'm
running
not
away.
running away
You're
from any
running away
fucking
from your
position at all.
position.
You asked me. You interrupted to ask me a question, and I immediately gave you an answer to the question.
Your thesis
Detail
was that
and
Elon
context.
should be able to own a nuke. Now you're saying that we all have to agree whether
Hold on,
Elon
let me-
gets to own a nuke?
I gave a
hold on,
long ass
hold on,
fucking
hold on,
intro statement,
hold
and
on,
and it said over and
Hold
over
on.
again that the ANCAP position is more regulation, that the government ought not be trusted with it because they're reckless. You have created.
I have the regulation that Elon can never buy a nuke.
Statement is.
My
Boys,
regulatory
stop.
position is that Elon should never be able to own a nuke.
Okay.
And the
okay.
government
Stop.
does and has them and uses them.
Mute people. All right, stop.
Okay, the government is different than Elon. Just saying.
Okay,
Period.
Yeah, we're
blank.
gonna come to that. Yeah, we can come to that in a
Oh,
second.
yeah.
I want a clarification question answered though. All right. So by this scenario, this metric you put out, Scott, I'm gonna give you a different what if, all right, than what you
Mhm.
Lactoid gave you, because I think y'all are we're focusing a little bit on Elon and not as so much to like what Elon represents. Say I tomorrow, in my infinite wisdom, decided that I'm gonna turn a portion of the Vicente, my ranch over here, into fucking a
Mhm.
nuclear silo. And I said the reason for having this nuke is A, it's none of your business, but if you have to ask, it's because I don't fucking trust the government and I want to have it just in case. Now, would that be a reasonable enough reason for me to
No,
want to
not
have
at
the
all.
nuke?
Not at all. Not at all. You're
Okay.
absolutely committing an act of aggression via threat. Again, like I
Fine.
said,
Just
99.9%
to
of
clarify.
cases, right? Like the only way that you could own and operate nuclear weapons in such a way that most would agree, if you don't want to say everyone, right? And the way that you are communicating effectively your intent is not a threat to other people, is if you were, again, to like go to an island, start a PMC, showcase that your PMC has never violated the non-aggression principle, right? Like your PMC only goes in and stops aggressors and actions and doesn't have collateral damage. And then over time, you built these weapons to specifically protect your island and like your manufacturing facilities or whatever, right? And then you insured it, and you had all kinds of insurances and all kinds of forms of protection, to stop this in some way, shape, or form. You signed contracts that, like, if any of these things were to ever get out or to harm other people, I immediately and voluntarily forfeit my life, etc. You would have to aggressively showcase that you are not engaging in a threat, that you are engaged in responsible defensive position. Now, the government pretends like they do this, but they don't.
All right, I want to ask you a question, Scott. So Elon Musk hires a bunch of soldiers to protect the construction of his nuclear missile silo. And he's rich, so he can hire a lot of people to stand around with guns. You're saying that the state shouldn't be able to own the means of weaponry to be able to go stop him. Who goes and stops Elon from building the nuclear weapon?
In what scenario? Like, so you're saying the state doesn't
I
exist?
I gave under your, because you've been criticizing the way the
like
state.
The whole world is
ANCAP. The whole world's ANCAP. You've been criticizing the way that, like, the state, the state has a monopoly on nuclear. The state has all these weapons, etc. Okay, so we get rid of that, like you want. We get rid of the state's ability to enact force in this way. Now Elon, unfettered by the state, he hires a bunch of people with guns to guard his construction of a nuclear missile silo. There's no more U.S. government. There's no state. Who's going to go stop Elon from building the nuke?
In this example, is the state is Elon Musk the only person with like military forces?
I'm sure there's other like billionaires that are building their own nuclear missile silos and buying their own soldiers,
or other communities or other insurance companies.
Yeah, and so you have all these different people like building nuclear weapons, and your argument is this is going to lower the amount of nuclear weapons?
Well, now you added a whole new thing, which is there's all these people building nuclear weapons. So like
that's what you said. You said these other billionaires, right?
That's not what.
You said what about other rich people in communities?
No,
sure.
Don't throughout tonight, you keep creating straw mans and then trying to stop.
No. I have to stop you because you will yap. You will yap the whole way through. I gave you a very specific question. I gave you a very specific question.
Elon, I'm making actual arguments.
No, you're verbose and you yap. I'm sorry. You have Elon Musk who built a nuclear missile silo and surrounds it with troops. Other billionaires are doing that too. Okay, and the billionaires, they're all building nuclear weapons now, right? Okay. So how do you stop them?
You snuck that in into your first one.
You just said yes.
That they're all building.
Okay. Which billionaire is not going to build nuclear missile silos, and why?
For the very same reason that I just described, that Elon Musk, unless he went through this extremely rigid process, would be communicating.
Who enforces that process?
People that don't want their brains blown out.
With what?
Would be the people
he hired them and they have guns. He hired the people with guns. Who's going to stop him?
In your magic scenario, you were saying that the world has now become might makes right. Right, you're saying that and you're also saying that Elon Musk has a unique power in such that he is far more powerful than all of the other powers in the world. If he builds a nuclear weapon in an irresponsible way, which 99.9% of individuals that would wish to do so, he is communicating a threat to everyone in the entire world, or at least the people that are within range of an intercontinental ballistic missile. Okay, and in that regard, it is in their vested interest to stop this. It is in their vested interest to take him over. He has chosen, like a complete fucking retard for some reason, to engage in an act that is an open declaration of war on the entire world. Right. And so if somebody is a billionaire and then all of a sudden decides, along with all of the people that are under him, that they all agree that they would like to, engage in an open declaration of war with everyone in the world, we have to stop them. And that happens sometimes in history. Germany did it once, Germany did it again, right? Like sometimes sometimes certain groups of people get together and say, I want to take on the whole world in a war. I'm not arguing that my system is utopic. What I'm arguing is that market regulations and the non-aggression principle disincentivize keeping and maintaining these weapons in irresponsible ways, and that the state has proven that they lack innovation, that they destroy progress, and that they constantly fail. The United States has lost nukes so many fucking times, and like maybe once or twice was so that we could give it to Israel, but all the other fucking times was because they completely mismanaged it and just let Ocean Riku in Japan or fucking post-Soviet states or Turkey, where they funnel weapons through so that other organizations can have dirty bombs.
Let me ask. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question, because I'm going to move this topic a little bit from where it's at here, because I have a question, and I think that you actually, Fabian answered already, but I want to kind of like maybe see what your thoughts are real quick. All right. So Fabian posited that you can't separate nuclear energy from nuclear weapons, right? And I think that's just something interesting. And I don't know exactly like where you were going with how you feel about this. What do you have to say about like, the thought that that statement's true? Like, say if I took not a nuclear bomb, perhaps, but I took the what's it called, the leftover remains from the nuclear facility that we own, and made a dirty bomb. Do you have an issue with like private ownership of a nuclear reactor, since that's a possibility, or no?
I have a problem with private ownership of nuclear radioactive materials. There was an example I forget how long ago it was, but there was a kid who was pulling the radium out of smoke detectors, which have a small amount of radium. And in his basement, he was building like a miniature nuclear reactor, which is like, on one hand, a little bit impressive, but it's incredibly dangerous. And the government found out about this because of elevated radioactive levels in the area. And then they found out he was building a nuclear reactor, and they stopped him, because we can't have people building nuclear reactors in their basement. And this is, I think, the ultimate enforcement problem with Scott's whole system. This kid was building this in his basement until the government noticed, and they came and stopped him, because the government monitors this shit. Without a government to be monitoring this shit, people aren't gonna, Elon could be building this nuclear facility in secret. Who the fuck is gonna know, right? There's nobody who has the right to come onto Elon's property to go investigate what he's doing under this system. Elon could be building the nuclear weapon silo underground and having armed guards surrounding every entrance. There's no way to stop this under the system that's being proposed. And secondly, it relies on everybody, or at least enough people, to overcome somebody with incredible amounts of wealth who has hired mercenaries to guard his house. It's relying on enough people to have the ability to go stop him. Perhaps, and that's also assuming that other people with equal ability would also somehow want to stop him, or perhaps they're focused on their own nuclear development. Perhaps they're focused on their own mercenary groups, which is most likely what would happen. There's a clear enforcement problem here.
Okay, yes. So let me respond to this real quick. So there's a couple problems here. First of all, the story you're spreading is like he did not build a nuclear reactor. The kid in question, okay, did not build a functional nuclear reactor. Yeah, he was trying. He did some cool shit, but he did not do anything that was any way, shape, or form a threat to anybody other than like the neighbor's house. Okay, he did not engage in anything that would be able to produce the type of weapon that you're talking about. Yeah, it's a threat, but it's not the threat that you're trying to tie it to as if it's like a nuclear weapon, and this is why we need the state. Number two, it's very interesting. Like the pro-state argument is kind of like a rigged thing, right? Because every example that you give here of like times that like nukes got to like terrorists, or like, there were problems, is like, this is why we need state regulation, right? And then every time that like it doesn't happen, it goes, see, this is why state regulation is working, right? It's like no matter what, you get to utilize the examples of whether or not problems occur as a success for the state, or as an argument for why we need more regulation in protecting these materials. The fact of the matter is that it is absurdly expensive. This is why you keep using the concept of billionaires, right? It is absurdly expensive to engage in these things. The moment Elon Musk does this, he's going to lose every fucking business contact he's got, because he just declared war on the world. He's going to be debanked.
How are they going to know?
To have all of his investments. What do you mean? How are they going to know? Is it only the state that builds satellites? Oh, I'm sorry. Did Elon Musk not build a bunch of fucking satellites?
Are those satellites going to monitor his underground facility?
So you're saying that only the government can engage in protection?
I'm saying if you value property rights, other people besides the government aren't allowed to come into my private property and see what I'm doing. If Elon is building an underground facility, the government does have the right to go in there and look. Do you think other private people should be able to walk into Elon's facility just to check what he's doing in there? Do you really believe that's like the future ANCAP world you want?
I think if you have a giant facility and you have tons and tons of employees, that the fact
all
that
automated.
the idea that Elon Musk is going to Manhattan Project this is a little absurd. First of all, you don't have a right to privacy when talking about this. Right to privacy is something that like we kind of all accept because the state has granted that you have a right to privacy, right? But under a system that I argue for, you don't actually have a right to privacy.
Do you have a right against trespass?
If someone can. You have a right against trespass.
Okay, so he's got an underground facility. He's got his employees that are sworn to secrecy. I mean, we kept the Manhattan Project secret.
Cameras are a thing, right? Like,
who's going to bring? Hold on. Who's going to bring in cameras to his facility? They're going to trespass.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but like cameras can actually like see real far, right? Like they can see from.
It's underground, Scott.
Okay, again, these things have heat maps. So you have an underground in your analogy, right? What you're saying is that in this world, is it possible that Elon Musk engages in good business practices enough to become a billionaire? Which first and foremost, monopolies are created by the state, and I don't think that you're going to see as many billionaires under a free market system anyways, because you're going to have way more competition because regulation is utilized by corporations to protect their profits and maintain big business. So you're probably not even going to have any fucking billionaires. But let's assume that there are some people that do become super wealthy billionaires. And in your example, you're saying, is it possible that Elon Musk is the example here, but someone is wildly successful, follows the non-aggression principle, is deeply involved in all of these businesses, and then one day decides, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to risk my business, risk my property, risk everything to create a secret underground facility and hope that none of this information ever leaks so that I can have a nuke.
Scott.
Like it's
no. What I'm saying is
no. You're right. It is possible.
No,
right?
You're framing it as
fucking utopia.
You're framing it as absurd when in reality, like right now, Elon Musk is a multi-billionaire. Right now, he's an incredibly rich person. We have examples like Iran, we have examples like North Korea, which were able to develop their nuclear programs in secret. The US, with our fucking satellites, we couldn't see underground. It's a big issue. We can't look through dirt, right? And so they were able to build these nuclear facilities underground. Elon Musk could very well, with the money he currently has, he could set aside resources because people can't look into it because that's trespassing, and he could build an underground facility. And in this facility, in this facility, he could develop nuclear weapons, assuming that we're not going to have government oversight. Now, I didn't even think at the beginning of this you were arguing along the typical thing of, yes, abolish all the government. The thesis of this was, should Elon Musk be able to own a nuke, right? I wasn't even holding you to this idea that the government doesn't exist. But now you're saying that the government. Now you're saying that the government. This was the thesis.
Don't say now. I opened this my opening statement, and I have not changed.
You opened by saying that we should all stop Elon from owning a nuke. That was your that was your opening statement.
My opening statement, and I will quote you, is this reduction in. Sorry, hold on. Let me go back. That was the wrong paragraph.
That we should all be able to stop Elon.
I have the unenviable task to argue uphill against memes and dispel myths. The same memes you keep bringing up. But I intend to argue the ANCAP position. We need more regulation. That is the closing sentence of my first opening paragraph. And I reiterate this throughout the entire opening statement. I don't know if you just didn't listen.
No. You're saying market regulation.
In your fucking head.
This is not a straw man. Your position was in favor of private ownership of nuclear weapons. This is the whole point of this debate. You're running away from it now.
Let's just do a little housekeeping.
I'm not running away from it just because you don't like my answer, which has been my argument.
Elon should not be able to own a nuke.
Straw man me into thinking that everybody should have nukes without anybody stopping them. That's what you want my position to be, because it's easy for you to defeat.
No, you want all the people to rise up and go stop Elon from privately owning a nuke now?
Hold on. Take a second here. All right, housekeeping. What we're gonna do? We're getting close to time, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let the girls here, our wonderful judges, ask a couple questions real quick. We'll make these answers quick, boys here. But I do, I want to do a little housekeeping. All right, everybody, go follow these wonderful people. All that good jazz. You like this content? Sub and donate, all that good jazz. That's as well. So make sure you go follow them. You can. I'll either post their links throughout the night. We'll post them again here in a moment. But yes, let's go to. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have y'all, the girls, ask questions, and then we're gonna move to closings after that because we are getting close to time. So, Sky, let's go to you, Streamy. Do you have any questions for us before we move on?
Been a little bit confusing, to be honest, to see, because we don't really have very clear, concise arguments tonight. So I just want to. Okay, so in a perfect world, I'm taking it. Both of the panelists think in a perfect world. Oh shit.
Uh-oh.
We lost it. We'll get it back.
Yeah, in a perfect world, no one would own nukes for weapons, right? But do both of you agree that we should be using nukes for nuclear energy?
Yes, with government
Do
oversight.
you both? So that with government oversight, okay. And Scott, you're saying, what do you feel about that? What's your direct answer with that?
Like I said before, right? I don't want to get too lengthy, right? But they're tied, right? The government oversight has priced nuclear energy out of the market, right? It's just too expensive to in most localities and in most situations for us to actually have clean energy, right? But yeah, I absolutely would say that a nuclear facility that is not engaged in armaments is something that you would see a lot more of, right? But I think you would have to, again, you're communicating something entirely different when you start building nuclear warheads, and the process is different, right? That's an important thing I think to stress here, right? That the materials that you need for an A bomb, right, are very very different than they're not very different, but they're refined in such a way that they are different than what you need for nuclear energy.
But would you want those to be government regulated, or how would someone approach that?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Well, yeah. So I mean, like my position is an anarchist position, right? I would want government regulation, but the governments that I'm talking about would be private ownership and markets and insurance companies, not the democratic system of electing Nancy Pelosi to lie to us for 20 years about the secret shit our government's doing.
Yes. Instead, he wants like an insurance company, which are famous for never lying, to look after the nuclear reactors.
No,
All right.
I mean, people lie, right? But it is also some of the most heavily regulated industries enmeshed with
Regulated by
government,
who?
that exists in America, by the state.
Okay, so Skyana, do you have a question here for us?
Mhm.
I don't think I do.
Okay,
I think I
fantastic.
understand.
All right, I'm gonna let y'all do closings. Fabian started, so Lactoid, you're gonna start us off with you got 3 minutes here for the closing. Whenever you're ready. 1 second here. All right, I'm ready when you are. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we saw a little bit of a change throughout this discussion. I know Scott's taking contention with that, but I want you guys to see what actually happened. You know, in my introduction, it was the case against private nuclear ownership. This was what I was going into. This was the thesis. This is what we're talking about. The idea was I was arguing that private individuals should not be able to own nuclear weapons. ANCAPs, very stereotypically, and I've heard Scott make this argument before, he would make the argument that private individuals, like McDonald's, should be able to own nuclear weapons. I am saying no. I think it's a very bad idea if we allow McDonald's to own nuclear weapons. I think it's a bad idea if we allow Elon Musk to own nuclear weapons. And a big part of this is I'm going to use, when Scott changed his position a little bit halfway through, I'm going to use that phrase that he said. I think it's actually a pretty good phrase, which is owning a nuclear weapon is the same thing as flagging a gun around. Why? You are putting everybody else around you at risk. For a nuclear weapon, even more so. A nuclear weapon is capable of incinerating millions of lives at the press of a button. It is an incredibly risky proposal to say anybody should be able to own it. Ideally, no one would own it. Ideally, we would be denuclearizing in terms of weapons. I'm fine with nuclear energy, right? We'd be denuclearizing in terms of weapons because I don't like the idea that we have governments or private individuals being able to incinerate each other at the push of a button. But I especially don't like it when you have private individuals who don't necessarily have oversight, who don't have observation from government agencies, who don't have, the people keeping them somewhat accountable to, hey, don't use that on a city because you're having a bad day. I don't want that kind of future. I don't want people to be able to own weapons that are of such danger, of such magnitude, that they're able to destroy and level entire cities. Just like I said in my opening, I also don't want people building little reactors out of radium or being able to manufacture mustard gas in their apartments. I don't want people doing this. If I find out that private individuals are doing a thing that is incredibly dangerous to everybody else around them, the government is justified in saying, hey, your personal freedom is important, but the risk posed to this, it's just too high. That's, my whole thesis was that. My whole thesis here was I just don't think it's a good idea to allow Elon Musk to own a nuclear weapon. And there should be a law, which there currently is. We should keep the law on the books the government has saying that private individuals are not allowed to own nuclear weapons. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Now, before I have Fabian go, here's what's going to happen, guys. You're at the end. What we're going to do is I want y'all to vote, chat at the end here. I'm going to post the voting. I'm not going to post the voting until the Fabian finishes closing. Ladies, y'all will send me who y'all think won at the end. Now, remember, this is not what y'all personally believe. That's the goal. It's who was the most convincing. That's what we're voting on, folks. So, all right. Give me 1 second. And Fabian, you can go now whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so I never changed my position throughout my entire debate, right? I said over and over again and in the opening, right, that I'm in favor of more regulation, that I want market regulation, that I think the state has shown throughout its history of not having the correct incentive structure to actually keep these weapons safe. Part of that is that the state in a non-competitive system does not innovate, right? It's really more of an economic situation in that point, right? The state, the means by which these facilities, especially weapons, are maintained, they do not have the same level of innovation and progress because they are beholden to bureaucratic systems that are overseen by politicians, and then people vote on majority or electoral college-based systems for said politicians. There's all of these layers, and that the private market incentives of things like gene therapy, like I talked about in Prospera, et cetera, they do a risk reward scenario. And when we talk about relatively small risks, like a handgun, when compared to a nuclear weapon, well, the risk reward scenario changes there, right? It's pretty easy to get insurance, in the inevitable accidents that will occur in the world when someone kills someone or something, and it's very easy to pay that cost. But the cost of nuclear weapons, as has been brought up multiple times, is essentially insurmountable. It's so fucking dangerous. It's so much that the cost to insure, maintain, protect, and keep these things safe is incredibly high. The state consistently loses nuclear weapons and nuclear material. I mean, some of that might have been like intentional to go to like Israel with like the Numek incident. We don't know. But over and over again, the state has shown that they're not good at protecting these systems, that they're not good at investigating where these things go. And they have shown, like I stated, that when they use one nuke, 3 days later, they'll use another nuke just to make a point and murder, 70, 80,000 people. Now, I said over and over again that in the beginning and throughout the debate that I'm for more regulation. I'm for market regulation. And I said I have an uphill battle to face here because my position is not a popular one for sure. And I said that I would have to fight memes, and I was hoping that I wouldn't. I was hoping that I wrote that line as a joke, and then I could have like a constructive debate, as opposed to someone that didn't engage with any of my arguments that I laid out in the beginning, consistently strawmanned me, and then got angry and upset and interrupted me every time I attempted to fix those. But I understand blood sports and things like that. It's an entertainment game. Sometimes people don't have strong arguments to bear, and that's fine. But I think history shows, economics shows, examples show that we need to regulate, and the state cannot be trusted in this means throughout it all. And no, Elon Musk can't have fucking nukes because he's going to get his brains blown out because he's committing a threat like we both agreed to.
All right. So, yeah, super vote chat. The voting is live now. Also, somebody donated a bunch of subs.
Is it a poll?
Yeah, there's going to be a poll. I also highly recommend the debaters vote for themselves. That's always good. You two, ladies, can just send it to me in private. That'll be the easiest way. And then afterwards, we'll announce who won and why, and y'all can tell us why y'all think you won.
Where do we
But
vote?
yes, it's on my stream. The poll is up. Just
Can't find you on Twitch. Did you get like fucking shadow banned or some shit?
Nah.
No, you just have to type the whole name.
Yeah. I probably have shadow banned because if you put politics in the thing, it kind of hides you. But That's okay.
Did you put it as your classification?
I did
should
put
be
it as a
fun.
classification.
Yeah, I literally
Yeah.
can't find it. Or maybe I can do a direct link through Discord, I think. Because I think like it shows you like you have a direct link.
I haven't had a problem
Yeah.
finding it. So let's hold that.
There we
Fabian
go.
Liberty is right here, and then Lactoid is at the bottom. If y'all are confused. Okay, hold on. Something's wrong with this poll. There's like no way. We got 100,000 votes here. Let's just fix that.
Does like each person's vote count for like 5 or something?
It
Did you
should
set
just
that?
Oh, if you use channel points, then you can vote more.
Yeah, it's not supposed to do that. I took that off. But, yeah, so we got like 2,000 votes here already. I was like, that's
That's reasonable. We should let
It's like,
people.
damn, this is a you got a lot of viewers, man. They're not getting
Yeah,
This is
counted.
like a
right?
Cuban election.
Yeah, no, yeah, we had a listen. We're gonna fix that. We're not gonna have the
Yeah.
rigged voting machines here. Al Gore doesn't need to pop back up. I don't think, or whoever it was. I think it
No,
was
man.
Gore Bush.
My Pillow guy is fucking involved somehow.
All right, yeah, my pillow guy. That's a good one.
You guys over here saying stop the steal. Whatever.
All right. Yeah, I mean that was gonna go to whoever had the most like time in the channel. That's not good. All right, let's try this one more time.
All right.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, it's rigged. Apparently, it's rigged. If that's the case, then I would just go in there and vote like a million times. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm real disappointed that you didn't want me to have a nuke, Fabian. I think that I
mean,
would
like,
like a nuke.
it depends on. I mean, like, yeah, no, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't trust you with nukes.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Like, I like talking to you, but you talk about fucking bombing people a lot.
Yeah, it'll
dude.
be
Like,
it'll be all right.
I
The
mean,
drone strikes, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
no, I don't know about that, brother.
When's a little drone strike ever hurt anybody?
I mean, that is, I guess, the motto of the Obama administration. Another group of people I don't fucking trust with nukes.
Everybody but gives nukes. Yeah, fine. All right. Yes. Thank y'all. Also, judges, thank y'all so much for being here. I know this isn't y'all's normal stuff. Well, Skyhana, you kind of started doing some of the debate stuff recently.
I only did
what do you
once
mean?
before, but yeah.
But no, but then we caught
I keep thinking you're saying Scott. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Then we caught her. We caught her today watching a WIC panel. So
I was watching Wick a little bit, yeah.
We're getting there. We're slowly bringing her to the side over here. I don't think we're ever going to convert Anne here to the debate panels, are we?
I mean, I'm here for it whenever I can be, but
yeah.
I mean, look. I'm just going to be misogynist, and I hope it doesn't, harm my votes in this.
Bro, what are you
You're
doing?
about to be openly misogynist.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm always honest.
I respect all women. Before he goes, I respect all women. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just saying, look, if you are attractive and you are a female, okay, you can just hop on the fucking debate space and you can make an opening statement and you can make like 2 other things, and guess what? You will get invited back. All right, that is just how the game is played. It's just true. If you are attractive and you're a female, okay, it's not a big barrier to entry. Is all I'm saying, right? You don't have to be like, oh my god, can I debate with the best of them? You can make 1 or 2 fucking arguments and be eye candy, and literally the stream will get more viewers because you're there, and everyone that runs those panels knows it, and they will invite you back regardless of whether or not you do a good job debating.
To be fair though, and I might want to push back against this. I have discovered recently that having in shape dudes on draws in a certain crowd that pays a lot of money. That has been
gay dudes do have deep pockets. All right, it's that gender pay gap. You know what I mean? Like they got that whole dollar instead of that 82 cents.
I learned that in 10th grade marketing class. They teach that shit in high school. Sex sells. Doesn't matter if it's debates, doesn't matter if you're selling phones, doesn't matter if you're in whatever it is. That is facts. And it's yeah.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. All right, looks like the polls have closed, and it looks like Lactoid has won the chat vote 10-9. All right, and
Ooh, that
so
was close.
yeah, it was
Very
very
close.
close.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually close all around here, I think. All right, so it looks like then, and who won in your opinion and why? Well,
Okay.
hold on. You gonna say
I
something?
I voted for Scott actually. Okay, the reason being, hear me out guys. I know it's the unpopular vote. But the arguments that he brought up were there was a lot. It wasn't cut and dry. It wasn't just here, this is what I think and why. There was a lot of good arguments that got me thinking. And now here's my thing. Now I know it sounds crazy and outlandish, like having the people regulate nukes, right? But isn't the government supposed to be regulated by people in general, right? Like people, the majority of people are supposed to vote for your government. So really, if you think about it, then isn't the government regulated by people at the end of the day, right? And I will say, what really sold me was Scott was bringing up history about, certain governments having nukes hasn't been the safest thing at the end of the day. Personally, I don't feel safe having North Korea, Iran, any government, including the States, Russia, owning nukes at all. So, what's the difference to me, whether it's the people or whether it's the government? Because they've done us dirty in the past, so to speak. Yeah, that was my answer.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, so we got chat wrote one. We got Scott one. Scott, you get to be the tiebreaker. Who won and why? No pressure.
I was gonna do lactoid today. Just a more understanding statements. I think Scott came in with a lot of confusion and a lot of statements that didn't really necessarily have to do with the whole entire topic, but as well as, like, I just don't trust anyone with a lot of money. I don't even trust our state, really, like, not even gonna lie. So, like, it's a hard argument to have more regulation, but also more people in the mix. That just doesn't make any sense to me, personally. And yeah, that's why, I guess.
All right. Well, so it looks like Lactoid's the winner. Fabian, very good, very close run. I mean, it was actually close all around. I mean, only one vote difference in chat, and it was a split vote here. So
Yeah, it was a 50-50, basically, at
I'm
that
sure
point.
It was
Scott
a
will be back.
49.
Very
It was
close.
hold on. It was a 49-51, right?
Yeah.
And Lactoid definitely won. And 49-51, just like all of our elections and the way politicians are elected, overwhelmingly the people have absolutely
You're
no say in
saying
the
this
process.
rigged.
I actually.
No saying the
No, I'm
process,
saying in
okay.
a completely fair and just system of democracy, 51% decides who the winner is.
Right, and we know how much you love democracy.
Democracy is the greatest evil. Or to quote Hans Hermann Hoppe, democracy is a soft variant of communism, and rarely in history has it been treated
There
as
are
anything
definitely
less.
things that I agree with from both of you guys.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. Lactoid, closing thoughts since you won. How do you feel? How does it feel to be champion? Do you feel good?
It feels good. Thank you, Scott, for arguing with me. Gibbs, thank you for putting this whole thing on. To both of our lovely judges here, thank you so much for taking time just to come here and judge us. And then for all of you watching, really appreciate it. If you're not following Gibbs or Fabian Liberty Scott, highly recommend both of them. Pop over to their channels and give them a follow. They both have my endorsement. I think they are a force for good in my utilitarian calculus. I think they are a force for good in this space. We need to oppose the rise of the leftists, and so I'm glad we were able to do that here today. Thanks.
Well, that's fantastic. Lactoid, send me a good mailing address here in about 2-3 weeks. You'll have a nice, cool DCS shirt with your name on it saying champion. And then also looking forward, we'll have the new seasonal format being announced here soon, guys. It's going to be fun. As for now, I guess we're going to raid somebody who's going to be on our show tomorrow. And so, everybody.
I don't get a goodbye. I don't get a
Oh, yeah,
send
you
off.
get goodbye.
What's
Yeah,
tomorrow?
Losers don't get
Well,
send offs. I see how it is.
Yeah, well, you just said something. I gave you first send off. What? Yeah, fine. Let's do that. Why don't you give us a send off, and everybody else will shout out your stuff one more time. Go ahead, Fabian.
You pointed. Oh, sorry. Your
Yeah, this
camera's
way.
Yeah, no,
reversed.
it's opposite side.
Wait,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way. Yeah, you go, Fabian. You
I'm
Fabian,
Fabian
a lot of the
Liberty.
girls.
I agree, Lactoid. All of these people seem to be good people, except for Sky. Fuck you. You didn't vote for me, so I just immediately assume you're bad now. Kidding. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was fun doing the whole championship thing. Having two libertarians, the small L and the big L, libertarians duking it out was fun. So of course we had to do a meme debate, and it's a lot of fun. I love the format. I really want to see more of these shows because I think your format is just great. That first round where we ended up being judges for the other people
Yeah, I
was
like
just
that
like
a
a
lot.
great way of doing it. I like that a lot. Um, you know, if I convince one person, if one person sees it and changes their opinion towards libertarianism as opposed to whatever ideology Lactoid is putting forward, that isn't libertarianism, I'm happy, man. I love it. That's like if I was a grifter, I'd be a fucking a Republican MAGA guy being like fucking buy the MAGA calendars, right? I'm not in this to fucking. I'm in this because I believe in it, and I'm happy to see anybody learn or think about things and challenge that. And I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to do that. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for being here. And like I said, I think you're gonna like the seasonal format even more, maybe than the Crayon Pricks format. I got something cooking that's gonna be good. All right, and Skyana, go ahead and tell us who you are, what you do, where to find you.
Yeah, no, I'm
We'll check them out.
Skyana. I'm a very chill gamer. I usually don't like conflict, but I do love listening to debates. I've always loved listening to debates. Great, great conversation starters. I love hearing everyone's point of views, thinking about everything. Primarily on Twitch, I do be streaming games, Rivals, and Valorant. But I've been trying to, I guess, sneak my way into these panels. So, yeah, that's me.
We love having you. They're fun. And Hot and Streamy, tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, Valorant, you.
So lately, I've been doing a lot of Discord call-ins, so this has really been my cup of tea recently. I definitely try not to pick sides too often, just because when you start doing that, you start creating um, people who like you and people who don't like you, and so it's not really the best take if you're trying to, just as a streamer, to be honest. But it's been really fun lately. So thank you, Gibbs, for inviting me on and allowing me to pick a side tonight. Both debaters were great. It was really difficult. I just picked one. So yeah, thanks, guys.
Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Like I said, tomorrow, if y'all like debate content, we're going to be having the Give Me a Break channel at 7:30. Topic I will announce later. It's going to be much more fiery than this. Yeah, unlike Ann, I like to take sides. So you're going to see a
7:30
lot
in
of
fake time.
yeah, you see a
For,
lot of
for, for
rage
all of
and
all of the world that understands that he's
yeah,
not on East Coast time.
Central Standard Time, the best time because it's Texas time. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty wild. So if y'all enjoy that, and then as for the people that have been asking about doing call-ins, we'll probably have an open panel of some sort afterwards. And if you do like open call-ins, there's lots of people in the space that do those. So come join us for it; it'll be fun. But we're gonna rate out somebody that's gonna be on the show tomorrow. And thank everybody for being here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Pentapo, good choice.
Yeah, another one fighting the good fight here. And we're out. But yeah, thanks
All right.
everybody for coming. Lactoid, would you
Yeah, it
want
was
to do a
fun.
14th Amendment thing?
What about
You want to do a 14th Amendment panel? Pentuple was asking me about it.
Sure. Does he take the position that it does not protect birthright?
I'm not sure what his position is, but
Okay.
he was telling me he wants to do it. I'm gonna see if I can get a couple other lawyers.
Sure.
We can have a fun one. I'll let you know when we do that specifically. All right, guys.
Sounds interesting.
Cool. It was lovely to meet you guys all.
Nice
to
to
meet
meet
you
you
all.
as
Catch you guys
well.
later.
Thank
be
you,
good.
everyone.
Thanks
See
for
you.
coming, girls. Y'all be good. Appreciate y'all judging for us. I know it's not y'all's
No
usual stuff.
worries. No, it's
Yeah.
fun. So it's a good change
It
of
is
pace.
fun.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
All right. What do you guys think? We won. We won the debate. Now, there are, I guess, a couple comments. It was an interesting discussion. I absolutely, going into, oh God, where do I even start here? going into the discussion, just to be clear, I'm going to assert this, right? Going into the discussion, like the topic was like, should private nuke ownership be allowed? Like, should Elon, specifically the example was like, should Elon be able to own nukes? And my position was no, right? That was the discussion. That was talked about. And I did feel, and I know he disagrees with me on this. I do feel as though sort of like throughout the debate, this was recognized as like shit. This position is impossible. And so then there was a shift, I think, to well, actually, Elon shouldn't be able to own nukes because all of us are going to go stop him instead of the state. And really, this is an ANCAP debate because really, this is a question about whether the state should exist and who should be the one to stop Elon from owning nukes. But that Scott was saying that I was little L libertarian, and then he was big L libertarian. But the question, the topic was like specifically because it was in comparison to gun control. Like it was a gun control debate: should Elon be able to own nuclear weapons? And my understanding of gun control is like it's regulations from the state. Like should the state allow you to own XYZ gun or not? And so the question is, should Elon be allowed? Really, my understanding of the debate was, should the government put in a law that states that Elon should be able to own nuclear weapons? Like basically remove the restriction from Elon being able to own a nuclear weapon. And that's really what I was focusing on. And I do feel like there was sort of an attempt to like bring this back into, well, no, we all agree Elon can't own a nuclear weapon. That'd be ridiculous, right? Like him doing that poses a threat. But I don't think the state should stop him. I think like the rest of us should all come together and stop him. And that's why I was playing into that a little bit when I was talking about like, well, like who's going to stop him? Like the classic, and I think this is the reason why I'm a little L libertarian, because I think there's the classic problem of who the fuck's going to go stop him, right? Elon Musk has an underground facility. Nobody's allowed to trespass to go see what he's doing. He's hired more people to guard it, and there's no profit incentive for somebody else to go stop him or like to go investigate using force, and nor could they go investigate using force because they'd be trespassing. So he's building nuclear weapons, right? So that was why I was going into that a little bit. I try not to get sucked up into that too much, though. I was being assertive because I mean it's just look the way like Scott is a very assertive debater, right? That's how he debates, and so and he will talk a lot as to his position, that's just how he handles debating, and so you have to just be able to like step in, right? That otherwise even with my assertiveness that I expressed, I still would probably put some money in the fact that he probably interrupted a little bit more. And I'm sure he had more talking time. I could be, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. But I think that was the big issue with non-fawn. So his debate, like he was just non-fawn just couldn't challenge him, right? Like every time, like non-fawn would get out like a sentence or two, and then Scott would just overpower him with rhetoric. And that's what even when I said during my judging of that debate, I think that you have to match people's energy sometimes, and so that's what I try to do. I think you missed showing the Elon point better. It's done in secrecy. Don't that it's guarded XYZ, or not that it's guarded, or I don't know. You're right. Like I agree that I know this is the difficulty. Like there was a couple times and in the closing too, like and this is fair. I mean, not everybody. People have lives, right? People go out and have lives. So like the judges would ask some questions sometimes that I think demonstrated that I wasn't being clear. So like I think at one point, like she was like, Anne, I think the judge was, she said like Scott's position is clear. He doesn't want anybody to own nukes. But that wasn't like the debate was Scott was arguing for the affirmative that Elon should be able to own nukes. So the question made no sense. Like I was saying that Elon shouldn't be able to own nukes, and ideally, even though it's not the thesis of the debate, ideally no one should own nukes, but the government does have them, and the idea is we want to prevent that problem from proliferating. Thanks, Gibbs. Thanks for the subscription. Really appreciate it as well. Wasn't that your position as well? Yeah, I tried to make that clear. That's why I emphasized, like when I got that question, I was like, well, hold on, just to be clear, like I think nobody, like ideally no one should have nukes. I referenced my intro, etc. And that is my position, by the way. I think there should be a law saying you are not allowed to own a nuclear weapon. I think that the risk is high. So the debate was pointless if that was the topic. I mean, I mean, I don't know if it was pointless. I was trying to keep it on topic. I was, and I think for a lot of it, we did. First of all, thanks for the hype train, Kerrigan. Thank you so much, just as well as Gibbs. Really, really appreciate it. If you both agreed that no one should have nukes, well, and this is where I think people are getting lost a little bit. Like, I would agree. Like, I would like everyone to give up their nukes, but there's a question between I would like, just like, you know, I can't think of a good example. Like, I would like everybody to give up their OnlyFans accounts. I'm not going to force them to. So the question is, should we force people to give up their nuclear weapons? Or I guess in this case, because they don't have nuclear weapons, should we stop them from owning them in the first place? And I agree. We should prevent people from owning nukes in the first place. Grumple Stillskin, get trained upon, normie. What does that even mean? What are you saying? Get trained. Oh, the hype train. Oh, okay. Thanks. I thought that was like a sexual thing. All right. Grumple, thank you so much for the 601 bits. Super cool. We're at level 2 hype train. Really appreciate that. Awesome. You guys are awesome. In terms of the voting, it was really close. It was. But keep in mind that, and look, I love you guys. You guys are great. I think Gibbs' audience is, pretty split. Like, I think if this was like a liberal audience, like if I was having this debate with Scott in front of like, whoa, Kerrigan, thank you so much for the 5 tier 1 subs. We are moving on to another tier of the hype train. That is awesome. Hell to the yes. What do we got here? Is this a level 3? Or are we going all the way to level 4? I think this might just be a level 3, but that's still good. I'm not taking it yet. Level 3. Awesome. Very, very, very cool. Thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate it. That is the least excited. Hell yes. Gibbs, I don't have your energy, right? I try. I'm low. I'm like a Jeb, okay? I'm too low energy. You are the Trump to my Jeb. Like you were like, whoa, you're yelling out there and everything. And I'm too, I don't know, man. I'm a pencil pusher. I'll work on it. I'll try to become more exciting. Okay. I'll tell you, like, if I ever win the lottery, I know that was a faux pas. I'm not like Jeb. But if I win the lottery, like, I'm gonna buy a fucking studio and I'm gonna be yelling and it's gonna be great and it's gonna be super exciting. And if I win the jackpot or millions of dollars, we're gonna bring on Gibbs. Gibbs, you're gonna be a contributor to my produced show. That'll be fun. I always try to make it 50-50 because it's the funny thing to do. True, a complete tie would be funny. 1-1 and an exact tie on the votes. That would be pretty funny. I get that. I'm not holding that against you, Roth Party. I get that. That's funny. Even if you voted against me, because you thought I lost, I still wouldn't hold it against you either. So, it's Drunk Uncle. I don't even know what that is. I'm not going to click on that though. If that's, Grumple, that's TOS, right? That's TOS safe, just to be clear. Or is that like a meme? Does this actually link to anything? Because when I hover over it, it's an actual hyperlink. Yeah, it doesn't link anywhere. Okay, good. Just making sure. Because I don't know. There could be some fucking site out there. I don't fucking know. All right, what was I going to say? As to the vote, right? So if this was in front of like a liberal audience, like if it was in front of like if I was having this debate with Scott in front of like Prime's audience or Wick's audience especially, or like Peace Goes or those people, like I think it would be like the audience vote would be like super heavily biased in favor of me. But this, I think, so Scott has his whole audience, which it's bigger than mine, and he was they were rallying support over there, obviously, which is fine. And then Gibbs' audience, I think, is like somewhat split. I think that Gibbs, you have like there's a big chunk of your, because you professor, there's a big chunk of your audience which is just like, fuck you, I have my guns, come and take them, right? Come and take them. Scott's audience is primarily on YouTube. Yeah, now that's true, but they were putting links to the Twitch vote in YouTube ad, which again is fine. I'm just saying that's what they were doing. So Gibbs' audience is pretty split on being sort of like an anarcho-capitalist as to the guns thing, but then also obviously I think there's less anarcho-capitalists. You probably have more like traditional Trump MAGA supporters within your community as well, Gibbs. And then I think for my audience, it's probably like a combination of like Republicans, a few MAGA people, a few libertarians, then also just like a few like centrist libs. I would say like that's probably like makes up the primary cohort of people that watch me. So, hi Lacto TV. Hi Kat. How you been? What you been up to? How you doing? So the vote was split. It was yeah, and then the judges. I mean, it was a close vote. It was a close vote, and I suspected it would be actually. I know that the topic. I think the topic favors me. I accept that the topic favors me, but I did think it was going to be a close vote though, just because of those factors. And homeless lawyers, welcome, homeless lawyer. Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple lawyers who, because there's people who will talk about law and stuff here as well. So, Pentuple, he pops in every once in a while. He's also got a streaming community of his own. He's a lawyer. And apparently, yeah, we're gonna have a 14th Amendment debate. I've been looking into that, and I've been arguing back and forth with people on this. And there's a really, I'm not gonna gas him up too much, but there's a guy I know that he's pretty smart. And he was making like the case that the 14th Amendment does not protect the birthright of illegal immigrants, the children of illegal immigrants. And I feel confident in my position. I just think that like the circumstances of the 14th Amendment and the history of the time, I think really lends itself to the idea that I think this is the original meaning of the 14th Amendment. Sorry. And I know I meme like, well, I'm the kid of an immigrant, so I might lose my. But the reality is, I wouldn't, even if birthright was like completely abolished, because my mom was a legal resident and my dad is a citizen. So I wouldn't, even if you got rid of it completely, I wouldn't. It wouldn't affect me at all. So, I wouldn't make an argument just for like self-serving interests, but those self-serving interests aren't even here, so you don't even have to. I will keep memeing about it though. I will keep joking about it. Roland, you see what I linked in Discord about the original writer? I provided the source. I saw that. I read it, and I'll look into that. That was provided as well by Mika. One of the issues is that a lot of the and I don't know specifically where that's from. That's the problem. For all I know, that's just somebody talking, right? When there were, for example, in the 1866 Civil Rights Act, there were statements from the drafters of that legislation talking about how this was supposed to expand birthright to all people. So, it's Mr. Howard or something, I think. Yeah, I'm sure that there probably was a congressional debate at some point about it, because they obviously, like, subject to the jurisdiction of. That's an interesting question. I also think there's a lot of like contradictions that come up if you read some of like especially in the slaughterhouse cases, which I think the slaughterhouse cases provides the best position against birthright, but there's some like contradictions with it, right? The first contradiction is the slaughterhouse cases appears to like it doesn't really touch on immigration, but there's like there's like a paragraph in it that appears like you could look at it and reasonably say that's a statement on immigration. It's a statement saying that like this was not this doesn't apply to like illegal or what was it? They didn't use the word illegal because illegal immigrants as a concept didn't exist in the 1860s or the 1870s, or really or I don't recall exactly when the Chinese Exclusion Act was, but like the Chinese Exclusion Act was the first time America ever limited immigration. The Chinese Exclusion Act was like America's first like foot in the water, toe in the water about like the concept of an illegal immigrant. This wasn't a thing before. During the Civil War, during the drafting of the 14th Amendment, during the Civil Rights Act of 1866, there wasn't this concept of a illegal immigrant. It was you show up, you can stay here, and then here are the qualifications to become a citizen, and then once you become a citizen, you can vote. That was the idea. And if you were born in the U.S., unless you were black, because there was a specific legal exemption for that, you were considered to be a citizen. So wait, do Native Americans have citizenship or not if born on reservations, or was that later updated? This was talked about in a case called Elk versus, I want to say Wilkins. I forget the second name, but it was Elk. It was the first name in the case. It was actually, I think, somebody in my chat who I think has legal experience here. Got a funny name. Guess who farted this guy? He brought that case up to me, and I should open that up and took a look at it. That elaborates on that the reason why Native Americans born on Native American reservations weren't granted citizenship is because they were, I think in the Elk case, it like quite literally says a Native American born on a Native American reservation would be the same kind of situation as a Chinese person born in China, or like a Russian person born in Russia, a foreign citizen born on foreign land. For the purposes of the 14th Amendment, like it was considered foreign land. So like, because they're dependent nations, Native American tribes they're not really part of the US. It's a very complicated situation. They're dependent nations. That's their official legal status, which means that they're essentially protectorates, right? They're not subject. The Native American tribes aren't subject to like the Supreme Court. They're subject to the treaty that is made between them and Congress. So Congress makes a treaty with the Native American tribe. Now, the Supreme Court can interpret what that treaty means from the U.S. perspective, but they aren't really part of the U.S. It would be like if Canada and the U.S. made a treaty, and then the Supreme Court would like look at that treaty to see what that meant. But that doesn't mean Canada is part of the U.S. Now, that treaty that we have with those Native American nations is expansive. It gives us the right to defend them, and it gives them a whole bunch of, it asserts a bunch of obligations on them and a bunch of rights on them and obligations on us and rights on us. And it essentially, the treaties are so expansive that they've essentially become de facto part of the US, right? They're essentially de facto part of the US, even though de jure, not really, right? And I think that the specific language, see if I can find the specific language. Hold on, I'm going to read this. When I read this sentence, it'll make perfect sense. It was Elk versus Wilkins. It was Elk versus Wilkins is the case. Okay. Quote, the Indian tribes being within the territorial limits of the United States were not, strictly speaking, foreign states, but they were alien nations, distinct political communities with whom the United States dealt with through treaties and acts of Congress. The members of those tribes owed immediate allegiance to their several tribes and were not part of the people of the United States. That was the argument. That was why they weren't considered to be citizens. And here's the kicker. If a Native American was born outside of the reservation, they were a citizen by birthright. Even before the Indian citizenship law of, I think, 1913, in which a statute was passed that gave Native American citizenship even if they were born on the reservation, right? That was it's by the way, that could be rescinded without a constitutional amendment. The Supreme Court, or the Congress today, assuming they got Congress and the president on board, they could, without a constitutional amendment, abolish the Indian Citizenship Act and just make it so if you're born on a reservation, you're not a citizen. They could do that. That would not require a congressional amendment or a constitutional amendment, because it was the 14th Amendment was never intended to apply to them from an originalist perspective, because they were born on a foreign nation, an alien nation, according to the 14th Amendment. So, but we obviously have the law. And by the way, at the time of the passage of the Indian Citizenship Act, like 2/3 of Native Americans were already American citizens because most of them were being born on U.S. soil. So I think that's part of the reason for the change is it was like a little bit of a moot point. People were like, just give them citizenship. Who cares? So we have that aspect. My understanding is there was like the 14th Amendment was not intended to apply to 3 categories of people. It was category 1, which was Native Americans or Native American tribes because they were considered to be foreigners on alien land, essentially, that were only bound to the U.S. by treaty. The children of diplomats, which is explained by the sentence of subject to the jurisdiction of, because diplomats by treaty are not subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. They're subject to the treaty. That's the concept of diplomatic immunity. So, and that applies to a diplomat and also the kid of a diplomat, right? Kids of diplomats also have this. So that goes to that example. And then the third example is like, and this one I think it's funny. You could try to argue it to be illegal immigrants. I don't think you're going to get far. But it was like if a foreign nation like is occupying U.S. land and they have kids on that land, they're not considered to be American citizens because the U.S. doesn't have jurisdiction over that soil. And that's along the lines of the U.S. wouldn't want to give those people citizenship, but also wouldn't want to say, well, that's not our soil, right? That's why that, and subject to the jurisdiction of is added. Illegal immigrants are subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. if they're in the U.S. This was another argument, and this is, look, guess who farted this guy? This is, I mean, I think you're doing a good faith job at arguing the alternative position, right? 14th Amendment requires political allegiance to the United States. Illegals do not have that. So the dissent in Wong Kim Ark argued a stronger position than that, actually. The dissent, because Wong Kim Ark was the case that basically said if you're born in the U.S., you're a citizen, right? The dissent argued a stronger point. The dissent said, look, if you have an allegiance to any other power, you can't be a citizen of the U.S., or you're not a citizen of the U.S. And if you're born to somebody who has an allegiance to any other power, then you're not a citizen of the U.S. And the direct argument they made is if there's somebody here who's here legally, because remember, the parents of Wong Kim Ark were here as legal residents. In fact, they had been in the U.S. for 20 years when they had Wong Kim Ark as a child. The dissent said, it doesn't matter if they've been here for 20 years. They're subjects of the emperor in China. They are subjects of the emperor in China. They're citizens of that country. And unless you renounce your U.S. citizenship, unless you renounce your foreign citizenship and cancel all allegiances, and you have a sole allegiance to the U.S., no other allegiances, a sole allegiance to the U.S., then the kid you have is not a citizen. If we applied this, what this would mean is not only would the kids of illegal immigrants not be citizens, but the kids of anybody here who was born to a legal resident would not be a citizen. The kids of dual citizens would not be citizens. And I don't know how that would work for me because my mom's a dual citizen who was not a citizen of the U.S. when she had me, but she was a legal resident. My dad is a citizen and is solely a citizen of the U.S. So I don't know if it'd be along the patriarchal line or the matriarchal line. The case may address that. I don't recall that specifically. But that implication goes pretty far. What it would mean is that the only people who get birthright are the children of single citizenry, the only U.S. citizenry. Nobody else. And the Wong Kim Ark court, the majority didn't apply it that way. And historically, I think that's the correct decision because remember, up until the Chinese Exclusion Act, there wasn't this concept of an illegal immigrant. This wasn't a thing. Like America was quite literally wide open. We had open borders. Up until the Chinese Exclusion Act, you could just walk into America and live in America. We can argue the history of this. I have yet to be shown anything to the contrary. You could just walk into the U.S., set up shop somewhere. I'm an American. Now, of course, you weren't a citizen unless you could prove that you were born on American soil, or you could prove that you've gone through the naturalization process because we've got to restrict people from voting, right? We can't just have people walking in and just voting. But you could just walk in. And that was the case up until the Chinese Exclusion Act, which means that it was past the Civil War and the 14th Amendment and the 1866 Civil Rights Act. Why do we use the term open borders now when you clearly can't come into the country and just be a citizen? We use the open border. Well, open borders is what people refer to, maybe not for people coming in being citizens, but the criticism is like people can just come in and like set up shop and compete with citizens for jobs or take welfare from tax dollars paid for disproportionately by citizens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's when people are talking about open borders. I don't think anybody's saying that open borders in terms of like illegal immigrants just come in and become citizens. I don't think anybody's saying that. They talk about the children. I mean, the whole point of the birthright is like they're saying that they have anchor babies. Like they're saying that they give birth to somebody in the U.S. who is then a citizen. That's the argument, and then they use the citizenship status of their kid to get more welfare or to stay in the country because optically it's like horrific to separate a mother from her child. And we saw that, right? I mean, even the Trump administration would have been like super hawkish on immigration back in the when he got elected in 2016. Like, he was blaming Obama for the cages. I didn't separate. It was Obama. It was Obama, and that's because there are some like very hawkish people in immigration who are just like, look, and I would include Tom Homan in this. They make the argument, so what? So what if you have a kid? That shouldn't be a reason for you to break the law. Which, I mean, I'm sympathetic to that argument, right? We all remember that famous congressional hearing where Tom Homan was being questioned by AOC, and AOC is like, they haven't committed a crime. Like, you would separate them, and Tom Homan said like it is a crime, and if I pull over somebody who's drunk driving, who's got a kid in the back seat, I am separating that child from the parent because I got to take the parent to jail. We can't let somebody having a kid be a get out of jail free card to just go on and do crimes. Which again, that's a decent argument. Like that's the argument that I think is a decent argument. Like I intuitively, yeah. Now, but again, like the optics are horrible, and people just don't see, except for a lot of people that are like in the MAGA base, or just Republicans generally. A lot of people just don't see illegal immigration as like a crime anywhere comparable to even drunk driving. I think that perhaps the closest allegory to illegal immigration that a lot of people like mentally think about it is like weed possession, where it's like, yeah, so okay, you had a little weed, so what, right? Oh, you came in the country illegally, you haven't done anything else, you're just working, so what, right? Um, and look, I obviously allowed dissenting voices here. I know a lot of people in my community are against illegal immigration, and that's fine. I sort of view it being somewhat consistent with like the marijuana, where it's like, yeah, it's illegal, but if you're here working and not taking tax dollars, I don't really care at that point. I do agree that there is a problem if we just like have a welfare state that hands out money to anybody who comes, which I think New York, for example, has demonstrated why that's a problem. New York state law, maybe it's just a city law. I don't remember if it's state law or city law, but New York has a law where you come, they got to give you a free housing, they got to give you free food, and it was sucking that city dry. Even Mayor Adams was like, "Holy shit, we're running out of money." That's exactly like that is the problem with like that is a bad example of illegal immigration, right? That's horrible. But let's assume, like, let's say you got rid of that. It's like, no, you come here, you make your own way. You come here, you work. I mean, so what? I don't care at that point, right? To some extent, borders are invented. I think we have to accept that. To some extent, borders are invented. We draw a line in the sand. We got to be careful about being super bordertarian because, I mean, that's the state. That is a massive imposition of the state. We are grabbing people and moving them. If we don't have justification for that, that's kidnapping. So the question is, do we have justification to grab people and move them? Sometimes. If they commit crimes, yes, of course. If they commit just the crime of crossing that line, but they're not taking money and they're working, I don't know, dude. I think that's probably fine. It's my position. I think it's probably fine. They are competing for jobs. That's true. Yeah, but I think job competition is good. I think job competition is good. I think jobs should compete for labor, and I think labor should compete for jobs. Yep. Moving somebody who crosses the line is just remedying the infraction. Well, what are you going to do with them, Grumple? If it's TOS, don't say it. If it's non-TOS, don't say it. But it sounds a little bit like Gibbs's issue with deportations. Bro, I gotta get more water. Halfway through the debate, like my mouth was going dry because I was just like, I just took a shower and after a shower, my mouth is all dry. I don't know why. Hey, on and next time you gotta work in your Riz game. No, we are not. Especially now, we are not going to be hitting on any internet people, and we are not going to be hitting on. I mean, I wouldn't do that anyway. I'm not going to be hitting on internet people. I'm not going to be hitting on people. That's just not what I do. But especially now, That would be a really bad idea. I'm not going to be. Yeah, you could be the next Destiny. I'm not going to be the next Destiny. What a mess. That whole thing is a whole mess, dude. What a mess. Don't do that, by the way. Somebody sends you something in private, especially something like deeply personal. Don't share that shit around. Come on. Pretty shitty thing to do. Pretty shitty thing to do. The lesson from Destiny is don't record the sex, don't hit anybody. Like, we're not doing any of that. It's not doing it. It's not my style. I know this, we're memeing. I'm not actually holding anything against anybody in my chat. I'm just gonna say that, like, all memes aside, just for a second, like, I want to do political content, and I think talking about controversy can be political content. Like, I think it's fine to talk about what Destiny did. But I don't want to be somebody who gets embroiled in, like, personal controversy of that type. And I also want, like, my space, frankly, to feel to be welcome to people of any gender. Seriously, I think that'd be a good thing to do. I think it'd be good if, and yeah, we can make, like, jokes and be, like, sexist or whatever. That's it can be funny, right? But, like, I think when you cross a line, when it starts getting, like, personal, when it starts getting sexual, that can make people feel really uncomfortable. And so I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And I think on the internet, that's can be easy to do, and it can be very easy to do unintentionally, right? You can very easily unintentionally make somebody feel uncomfortable, especially women. Sorry. And so why would I even get involved in that? Why would I? I'm going to take the Mike Pence. Mike Pence, his approach to women is unironically, like, the best approach you could take from, like, a career perspective. Seriously. Like, you don't want to be involved in any kind of controversy? Just nope. We're cutting them out. That's not even going to be a consideration. No romantic consideration. Like like now he has a wife, I guess. So it's not exactly the Mike Pence method. It's like the Mike Pence method if Mike Pence was like an incel, right? I'm not calling myself an incel. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm not an incel. You know what I'm trying to say. Come on, you guys. I'm not gonna. Don't make me. Don't make me so fucking. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Listen, women lie to move up, avoid being alone with them. Some do. And it's better just to be careful about putting yourself in a position where that can even be interpreted. Do all women do that? Of course not. Are there plenty of cases where women are genuinely made to feel uncomfortable and women are genuinely, like, violated, as we recently saw with the allegations against Destiny? They're saying they were violated. The evidence appears to be at this point pretty credible. So you absolutely have examples of the alternative. But it's, again, like, why even put yourself in the position where somebody could mess with you, where you unintentionally could make somebody feel uncomfortable? You can come into this with pure intentions and still come out the loser. I'm just not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. It's okay. We don't blame you for being an incel. Thank you, Kiergan. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I have a theory that incels are just like, or can we even say that word on Twitch? Never mind. We're not going to talk about that. I think I remember that being, like, an issue at some point. I'm not using that word as an insult, just to be clear. Did you see Lab destroying Connor? I actually have a panel tomorrow with Connor on this topic. I think Connor looked really bad in that engagement, actually. I listened to the whole thing. I listened to Queeman, and with Queeman and Lav that were talking about to Connor about the whole Destiny situation. And I don't even agree with, like, how far Queeman and Lav want to take it. I think that they're pretty like extremist. Maybe extremist is the wrong word. They're pretty, I guess, like I don't want to say extremist, but like yeah, they're pretty like they want to be heavy-handed with Destiny. They want to go really far. They want to like punish him strongly. And look, I mean that's the we can agree that wrong was done, and like how bad the punishment should be is like a subjective determination that reasonable minds can disagree on. But so like I don't even necessarily agree with how heavy they want to go, but they looked better. They looked better in that engagement, unfortunately, because I like Connor, but I don't think he looked. I think he even if he's not doing it, he looked like he was sweeping for Destiny, hardcore. He looked like he was, and you just can't, dude. You can't say the kind of things he was saying, and you can't. And he was getting frustrated and dropping like slurs, which I don't care, but like some of these people are streaming, and it's just like you got to be careful, dude. Like you can't do that. Like when the panel tomorrow on Twitch, I mean, if he starts dropping slurs like that, I can't. What am I gonna do? Like bannable slurs, like the F slur. Can't do that, right? I mean, Twitch, I'm pretty sure treats that similar to like the N word. You just can't. It's personal for them. They essentially want to destroy him. Sure, yeah. There, of course, there's gonna be people who are gonna take advantage of a, like what no good tragedy. No tragedy goes on. What is it? No good businessman. I'm tired. I worked all day. No good tragedy goes to waste. I think that's what it was. Like, yeah, you have people who take advantage of that and jump on that because they want to hurt him for other reasons. But I mean, he handed this to them. This is a genuine thing you can use to attack somebody, and they're doing it because of course they would. Don't let a tragedy go to waste. Yeah. So they're going to attack him. They're going to attack him. Of course they're going to attack him. What did you expect? It's Queeman. His whole thing is like internet drama, right? Like that's what he does. He forms a community of like criticizing people who he perceives to be doing wrong. And you don't think he's not going to do this? Of course he's going to do this. And he's not even that wrong for going after him for this because what he did was kind of bad, right? I mean, it was actually kind of bad. And Lav as well. Like they're not wrong in going after him. But I think this is the part that I think makes him look really bad, which is it's not just people who hate Destiny going after him at this point. It's not just people like Weeman or Lav or other people. It's people like Lonerbox who was just voted #1 ally just like a month ago. He's putting out like content about how bad Destiny is now. You have people like Pisco who says, "Hey, we're canceling all the New York stuff. That stuff's over. What he did is unacceptable." Holy shit! Like Pisco was a huge Destiny orbiter, right? He was 100% in his corner. We have Bridges apparently now. Destiny said on his stream getting canceled, right? With Kyla, we have what else? I mean, ABBA came out and talked shit. We have a lot of people who were staunch Destiny allies who would defend him when he would say the most unimaginably cruel shit. Destiny said incredibly cruel things about Trump supporters, including the one who got shot, and they stood by him through that. They were fine with that. The fact that they were fine with that, but they move away now, I think shows how bad this really is, right? Like he must have done something bad to get the people who were his allies to leave him. Not just people like again who hate him already, the people who genuinely liked him, who were not only liked him, were financially dependent on him. They're pulling away from him. You know you fucked up, dude. You know you fucked up when you have people who are financially dependent on you pulling out. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. So tomorrow, I forget what time, probably right for my work. We're going to be talking about. I'm going to be going off on some people. This is going to sound weird. Like a lot of people are attacking like Destiny's former orbiters over this. I think that like the reaction has been pretty understandable from them at this point. Like they've pulled away when he went totally unhinged. would it have been like the best moral thing to pull like away from him earlier? Probably. But you can't just expect people like who have that close of a financial tie and probably like to some extent believe that he is like a force for good or whatever to like just dump everything and leave after, you know, some allegations without like verifying it first, right? I mean that's a tall ask for people. So like I think their response hasn't been too bad. I think the except for people like Dan, I think it's I think that's pretty bad. But leaving people like Dan or some other people aside, oh god, leaving them aside for a second, the people I really think are just very, just totally horrible are the sycophants who are on Twitter who aren't getting paid, who aren't financially dependent on him at all, who are defending, who are saying, "Oh well, I mean, the conservatives don't care about personal morals, so why should we about this?" That is horrific. I'm going to be spending a lot of time tomorrow attacking that. In fact, I'm pretty sure the topic for tomorrow is talking specifically about that argument. Um, those people are pathetic. There's also some people who are so like they were like because they liked him so much, they were defending the idea of like what he did or what he allegedly did. Sorry, um, and even that was so cringy that like they were getting banned from the Destiny chat because optically speaking, you can't like you can say Destiny's like a bad guy or whatever, but he's smart enough to know that you can't have people in your chat just like defending that because it's not good. Don't do it, guys. Come on, just don't do it. And here's okay. I'm going to talk a little more about this, just so you guys have some pregame before tomorrow. Here's the thing: what he did is what he allegedly did is bad. What he allegedly did is bad. What we know for a fact he's done already is also bad. Like the reaction to this has been like atrocious. The reaction to this has just been atrocious. Okay. For someone banned from DGG, you haven't know an awful lot about what's going on, bro. I got my shooters. Dude. But here's the thing that pisses me off the most, right? We all know that doing something bad is bad. Okay. How should we treat the person who does the bad thing? Well, we have to take like I think several different considerations into account. How often you've done it, and how old you are. If there's a 14-year-old who shares like nudies with his friends, that's not good. That should be punished. But I'm willing to like forgive this kid. Like it's a stupid decision. Kids make stupid decisions. Okay. Rude thing to do, bad thing to do, shouldn't do it. Probably some form of punishment, but like punishment should be proportional. This person can be rehabilitated, okay? But let's say like it's alleged that you've done this like 6 times, like 5 or 6 times, and you're in your late 30s. Or like a mid to late 30s. What's the likelihood that you're going to change at that point, right? We can apply this to any crime, right? If you have like 6 DUIs and you're in your like mid to late 30s, are you going to change? Maybe. But like realistically, are you? I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's not good. Doesn't look good. There was a question here. Do you think he will receive legal consequences for his actions? Kerrigan, I'll answer the question in a second. Wasn't the last time 3 years ago? I don't know. No, the last time he allegedly did this was like a year ago, I think, right? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It could have been 3 years ago. The problem is like there's more and more people that keep coming out, right? So I don't know. Like we have allegations from Cherry. I don't know when they were supposed to, like when that happened. We have like the Pixie stuff. I don't know when that happened. We had, and part of this is I think that people don't really want us to like know super much about the timelines. And then we have, I don't think it was 2024, Kat. I think it was, I know that the leaks happened in 2024, but I don't think that the actual acts occurred in 2024. As for the legal consequences, I don't know. Like speculating about legal consequences is like pretty difficult. I think that my prediction is that if there is any legal consequences, they're going to be relatively mild. That's my prediction. And it's not really going to affect his career much. I think that there's some people who have this mentality of like he's going to be caught, like he's going to be destroyed, he's cooked, he's never coming back, he's over, his whole community's abandoning him, they're all jumping ship, the rats are all jumping off the ship, he's done. No, come on, dude. Like there are some people leaving him. There's going to be some subscribers who say that's too fucked up for me. He's still consistently getting 7,000 viewers. And he's streaming consistently. And a lot of the people in his chat are glazing him. A lot of people don't care. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. That's my prediction. I don't think people. I think what's going to happen is the orbiters that he currently has that are sticking with him, he's going to keep them around. Probably going to find a few new ones, right? And just to clarify, everything I've said thus far is based on the allegations that are made against him. So I understand those are allegations. I'm not saying that he did everything in those allegations, but I am saying that I have seen his reaction to those allegations, and that is condemnable in of itself. The reaction to those allegations is condemnable in of itself. So even if all those allegations are false, the reaction is condemnable enough. It's enough to say, wow, that's a shitty thing to do. So doesn't that depend whether Cherry's accusations are true? In terms of what? In terms of like minor legal consequences? I think even if he record, yeah, hold on. I agree that it's fucked up to record somebody without their consent and then share it. Like that's like holy shit. I would predict if he did that and if he's held responsible for that, I think it's gonna be a relatively minor punishment. I think you'll see. People grossly overestimate how strict the criminal justice system is in this country. Right? I mean, you have people who murder who get out in 20 years. You have people who, you know, commit awful acts of sexual assault. They're out in 5. Like, I'm sorry, you guys are. People have this mentality of like, oh, America's so tough on crime. In some ways, we've been like too tough on certain crimes. Sure, there's room for criticism, but people overestimate how tough we really are in a lot of ways. So, I mean, if he did it, and if the law fits within it, because there's a question if like audio counts. I know there's like a difference between visual and audio recording, so there's a question if audio counts. But if it's found that audio does count, and there is a violation of that statute, sure, there might be some punishment. I just don't think it's going to be nearly as much as people think. I think there's going to be a fine, probably. There could be a fine. There could be some jail time. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to destroy his career. I would take a bet on that. I think that he's going to have a career unless he chooses to retire. The only way he's actually would not have a career is if he did something that would get him arrested for like a couple of years. I think that would actually cut his momentum down significantly. Like if some horrible allegations came out and he was actually facing real jail time at that point, then yeah, sure, I would agree at that point. But even the Tate, didn't Tate's stream from jail? I feel like he could do that and still maintain some viewership, unironically. I don't know, dude. He'd probably lose a few more followers though from that, I think. Seems like misdemeanor with 1 year in prison max, according to some YouTube lawyers. Wouldn't surprise me. You can't stream from jail. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure I've seen people stream from jail. Can you get arrested for sharing those photos? Depends on the laws. These laws are generally categorized under the kind of umbrella of revenge porn laws, and they're relatively new and untested. Because revenge porn is really something that only recently is being seen as a problem. Showing people photos and stuff was not happening as much in the past, just because there was a lack of data communication. Right, we just didn't have smartphones in the way we do now. So there just wasn't this many pictures. This wasn't as prevalent, but also it also wasn't as taboo. People showing each other photos was just seen, I guess, as more normalized than it is now. This isn't revenge porn. You're right. It's not technically. My understanding, revenge porn requires an intent of malice. Yeah, this is why I'm saying that these laws are under this the purpose of all these laws is to combat revenge porn. Some of the laws don't necessarily require a malicious intent. Some do. So that's why I said it depends on the law. It depends on the circumstances, and it depends on the law. It's not a super clear answer to the question. There's not a super clear answer right now as to what applies and what doesn't apply. So this might not even like be considered revenge porn technically, even if it's like still falls within what the legislature made to combat revenge porn, if that makes sense. Doing it without someone's consent is not necessarily malicious. If malicious would be like if you share it with the intent of humiliating them. So that's why it's called like revenge porn, right? Like I think there was it got banned, but there was like a website, like a porn website, in which the whole purpose was like people sharing revenge porn of their exes. Like, hey, you cheated on me, I'm gonna share the porn that we made. And that was like the point of the website. And there was enough complaints about this website from people having their porn shared on it. And I think probably a few like people hurting themselves, unfortunately. And then the government was like, this is kind of fucked. So they started crafting laws to try to prevent this from happening more. My son cropped down your video so it's just you. You know what? I was going to do that. I wasn't even going to talk this long. That's why I didn't do it. But then I've been talking for like a while. I've been talking for like 30 minutes. So you just enjoy I do enjoy your guys' company. You guys are great. People talk about like the YouTube lawyer. I am technically a YouTube lawyer, aren't I? Aren't I a YouTube lawyer? Hold on one second. I'm listening to something that somebody sent me. I'll check it out. Oh, this is the lyrics. It's a song. All right. I'm not gonna play the song because it's like it's a rock song, so like I don't know. Maybe I should just play the song. I'll check to make sure it's all TOS real quick. If you post to YouTube, I repost my Twitch debates to YouTube, so people who miss it and they want to check me out, they can do it. It's also like a library of everything I've done, which for me I think is it's important. I'd like to have like a reservoir of everything that I do, everything that I've done. So if people want to know more about me and my positions and they want to know things, they can find me. Lactoid TV on YouTube. You should be able to find me at Lactoid TV on YouTube. YouTube.com/Lactoid TV. I am Lactoid TV everywhere. I also have a Kick account that I never use on the off chance that I get banned from Twitch, unironically. That's why I have the Kick. So if I get banned from Twitch, you can find me on Kick. Hopefully I don't get banned on Twitch. I follow the TOS, I believe, to like a very strong degree. I respect the rules here. So hopefully I don't. I know that there is a problem of conservatives getting kicked off Twitch because, reasons. But got to be multi-streaming. I'm considering multi-streaming, honestly. I might be doing that. I'm going to review the TOS. I'm going to make sure it's not going to like get in the way of anything, just TOS-wise. But assuming, and I know people multi-stream, it's no problem. So it shouldn't be a problem. So I'll look at multi-streaming, and then I can multi-stream to Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. So people who prefer me to watch me here, they can. And I'd love to have you guys here too. But then if you guys prefer YouTube or Kick, then you can also find me there. Also Twitter, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about that. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. So we just got done with the debate with Scott. Somebody who's a fan of, who's an anarcho-capitalist, who's a regular in Scott's chat. He's a fan of Scott. Casimir, I don't know if you guys know him. Apparently, he made a song. Make sure I can actually. Um, oh, the plane crashed, the jet. Yeah, that shit's scary. The F-35 that crashed. Catch you later, Testicle Johnson. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you and the whole Wick gang. During the debate, there was a plane crash. Oh shit, dude. Wait, where? What happened? Military chopper crash. Oh no. Oh no, dude. American Airlines jet collides with Black Hawk. That's not good. No confirmed casualties. Oh no, there's gonna be casualties, dude. 60 passengers on board. This is Reagan National Airport. Oh god. Yeah, that's fucked, dude. Wow. That's sad. Well, great. Just some sad news to end the night with. That's good. All right. We're gonna play. Somebody made a song, an AI song about the debate. I want you guys to just check it out for a second. Free market shrinks as lawyer flies. Freedom bleed. Lactoid sucks and lawyer. They're so mad. And tucked away. Scots in court with fire eyes. Lawyers twist and compromise. I compromise. Arms of justice turn to straw. Lactoids laugh. It's a cool lyric. Was made with Suno, yeah.
Scots in court with fire eyes. Lawyers twist and compromise. Arms of justice turn straw. Lactoids laugh, they own the law. World enslaved in shiny chains. Hollow deals and empty games. Freedom begging on the street. Markets crumble at their feet. Lactoid sucks and lawyers too. Markets bent and twisted through. Truth is lost in vibrant gray. Freedom prized and tucked away.
Epic. Epic. So for those of you who think that AI is not going to replace your job in the next 5 years, that entire song was made within minutes of the debate, I'm pretty sure, entirely by AI. That voice sounded pretty damn realistic. It made I mean, you can tell the lyrics are a little bit AI, right? There's lactoid rares, the freedom booth, whispers echo corporate lies, free market shrinks as lawyer flies. Not the best series, but I mean, there's a couple fucking good ones here, right? Like, what is it? Lawyers draft their cunning ways, smoke and mirrors all their plays, in the grip of endless greed. Lactoid's rule makes freedom bleed. That one's decent. It's a good one. I like that one. World enslaved in shiny chains, hollow deals and empty gains. Freedom begging on a street, markets crumble at their feet. Last sentence there's a little bit cringy, but overall, like not terrible. Yeah, I mean, fuck, we're gonna be replaced by AI. Horrible. In terms of the song itself, it's funny. Suno's pretty cool, I guess. Someone to actually make like a song like that, like with a guitar, be very impressed. Anyway, let's see what else. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow to my debate. Not, it'll be a little bit of it's gonna be a bit of debate. Yeah, it's gonna be a debate. Make it your intro song. I'll save the link to this. Maybe I will. AI can't copyright shit, right? So technically, this is uncopyrighted. Just saying. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central is tomorrow's debate. I will be there. Counterpoints will be there. And some other people will be there too. But Counterpoints and me and other people will be there tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Is Wu going to be there? No. I don't think Wu wants to be like in a confrontational discussion with this. Connor is more comfortable with that. I don't think Wu's comfortable doing stuff like that. I think Wu is more of it's like less of a debater and more of like I guess, like content maker, like a podcast sort of person, I guess. I don't know. But for all of you who tuned in to today's episode of Lactoid TV, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you all again or talking to you all again. I try to stay active in chat, try to engage the chat. So hopefully you guys see that and feel appreciated as you should. For all of you who gave bits and subs, who got me this awesome hype train, Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Always appreciate it. For those of you who are active in chat, really appreciate it. We're going to raid on out now. Who should we raid on out into? Here's what we're going to do. It's been a while since we've had a discussion with this good friend. We're going to raid on out into Lethe Water Kai. And I hope you guys have a good time. Catch you guys later.
You have the entire world going, hey, we've seen your